Imagine walking into an ancient temple, your footsteps echoing across stone floors, worn smooth by centuries of devotion. The air feels different here, heavy with history, sacredness, and secrets. You look up at towering columns and intricate carvings, marveling at the artistry. But what if the real wonder lies beneath your feet? What if these very stone floors you're walking on aren't just decorative, but are actually hidden maps of the universe's celestial blueprints carefully encoded by ancient builders? This isn't just poetic imagination, it's a reality discovered in sacred sites across the globe, where architecture served as both spiritual sanctuary and sophisticated scientific instrument. For thousands of years, long before satellites or telescopes, our ancestors looked to the skies with a sense of wonder and reverence. They observed the movements of stars, planets, and seasons with astonishing precision, and they didn't just record this knowledge in fragile scrolls or temporary markings. They built it into their most enduring creations, their temples. These sacred spaces became permanent repositories of cosmic geography, with floors functioning as astronomical maps that connected earthly rituals to celestial patterns. From the zodiac floors of Egyptian temples to the geometric mandalas of Hindu shrines, ancient architects embedded sophisticated understanding of the cosmos into stone, creating a legacy that would endure for millennia. Today, we're going to embark on a journey to uncover these hidden maps. We'll explore how sacred architecture preserved humanity's earliest cosmic knowledge, decoding the star charts, planetary alignments, and sacred geometry hidden in plain sight. We'll travel from the deserts of Egypt to the jungles of Cambodia, from medieval European cathedrals to Mesoamerican pyramids, discovering how different cultures independently developed similar methods of encoding celestial information into their architectural designs. This exploration isn't just about ancient history, it's about understanding how our ancestors perceived their place in the universe and created lasting monuments to that understanding, monuments that continue to speak to us today if we know how to listen. So prepare to see these architectural marvels in a completely new light, because once you understand what lies beneath the surface, you'll never look at an ancient temple the same way again. This profound practice of cosmic geography reflects a fundamental human impulse to find our place within the vastness of the universe by literally grounding celestial patterns here on Earth. It represents a bridge between the observable heavens and our terrestrial existence, transforming abstract star patterns into tangible stone arrangements that could be walked, touched, and experienced directly. Imagine living in a world without paper maps or digital screens, where the only way to preserve complex astronomical knowledge was to build it into the very landscape around you. That's exactly what these ancient cultures achieved through their sacred architecture, creating what we might think of as the world's first permanent planetarium stone structures that not only depicted the cosmos but actively tracked its movements. What's truly remarkable is how this concept emerged independently across cultures separated by vast oceans and thousands of years. The builders of Stonehenge in England carefully aligned massive stones with solstice sunrises and moon extremes, creating a sophisticated astronomical calendar in stone. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, the Maya civilization designed their temples with precise alignments to Venus cycles and solar zenith passages. In India, temple architects developed complex mandala-based floor plans that mapped cosmic principles onto sacred geometry. Medieval European cathedral builders embedded labyrinth floors that functioned as spiritual journeys mirroring cosmic patterns. Despite their geographical and cultural separation, all these civilizations arrived at the same profound realization that architecture could serve as a permanent record of celestial knowledge. The individuals behind these achievements were far more than what we might consider architects today. They were truly Renaissance figures millennia before the Renaissance, combining roles as astronomers, priests, mathematicians, and engineers. These master builders possessed extraordinary interdisciplinary knowledge, understanding both the practical mechanics of construction and the spiritual significance of celestial patterns. They knew which stones could withstand centuries of wear while maintaining precise alignments, how to calculate complex geometric proportions that reflected cosmic harmony, and which astronomical events held cultural and religious importance worthy of permanent preservation. Their work represents a perfect fusion of scientific observation and spiritual expression, creating spaces that served both practical timekeeping functions and profound ceremonial purposes. Perhaps most importantly, these architectural marvels functioned as durable knowledge storage systems for civilizations that often lacked widespread literacy. In an age before printing presses or digital storage, how does a society preserve complex astronomical observations across generations? You build them into structures meant to last for centuries, into temple floors that would be trod upon by thousands of worshippers, each step reinforcing the cultural knowledge encoded beneath their feet. These stone maps became permanent educational tools, teaching each new generation about celestial cycles, seasonal changes, and spiritual cosmology through direct physical experience rather than written instruction. The very act of walking a labyrinth pattern during a religious ceremony or observing sunlight strike a specific marker on the solstice became a living lesson in cosmic geography. This approach to knowledge preservation reveals how ancient cultures understood their relationship with time and continuity. By building astronomical knowledge into architecture, they created a conversation across generations, a way for ancestors to speak to descendants through stone alignments and geometric patterns. The temple floor that marked the summer solstice sunrise 2,000 years ago still marks that same sunrise today, creating an unbroken chain of observation and celebration that connects modern visitors with ancient worshippers. This long-term perspective stands in stark contrast to our often disposable digital age, reminding us that some knowledge is too precious to entrust to fragile media. There's profound wisdom in building what matters most in materials that can withstand the centuries, ensuring that essential understanding survives even when languages are forgotten and empires fall. As we begin our journey through specific examples of these cosmic maps, we should approach them with fresh eyes, recognizing that we're not just looking at ancient art or architecture, but at sophisticated scientific instruments encoded in stone. Each pattern, alignment, and geometric relationship contains layers of meaning, mathematical precision, astronomical observation, spiritual symbolism, and cultural world-view, all integrated into a unified whole. These structures represent humanity's earliest attempts to answer fundamental questions about our place in the universe, and they did so by creating physical manifestations of cosmic order that continue to inspire wonder and curiosity centuries after their creation. Among the most extraordinary examples of this cosmic mapping exists within the sun-baked stone of ancient Egyptian temples, where priests and architects collaborated to create precise celestial diagrams right underfoot. The Egyptian worldview was fundamentally structured around the concept of Mat, a principle of cosmic order, truth, and balance that governed both the heavens and the earthly realm. Their temple floors became the physical embodiment of this principle, designed not as simple decoration but as functional astronomical instruments. Imagine the scene during an important religious festival. priests processing in elaborate ceremonial dress across a floor inlaid with stars and constellations, their every step literally walking across a representation of the heavens, reinforcing the sacred connection between the earthly temple and the celestial realm. The magnificent Temple of Hathor at Dendera provides us with one of the most spectacular and well-preserved examples of this practice. Hidden for centuries within the temple's complex, the now famous Dendera Zodiac floor lay concealed until its discovery, a breathtaking circular bas-relief that maps the night sky with astonishing accuracy. Carved around 2,000 years ago, this intricate sandstone chart depicts the constellations exactly as Egyptian astronomers observed them, including all 5 visible planets, various zodiac figures, and important decan stars used for timekeeping through the night. What makes this floor particularly remarkable is its hybrid nature. It blends traditional Egyptian constellation figures like the hippopotamus goddess Taweret with the Babylonian zodiac signs that had been introduced through cultural exchange, creating a unique snapshot of astronomical knowledge at a specific moment in history. This wasn't merely artistic expression, it was a sophisticated scientific document rendered in durable stone. These celestial floors served incredibly practical purposes in regulating all aspects of Egyptian society. The priests who designed and interpreted these patterns were essentially the keepers of time itself, using the alignments to maintain the Egyptian calendar with precision. They determined the correct dates for planting and harvest based on the heliacal rising of Sirius, which signaled the coming of the annual Nile flood, the lifeblood of their civilization. Religious festivals dedicated to specific deities needed to occur at astronomically significant moments to maintain their potency, and these floor maps ensured ceremonies aligned perfectly with celestial events. Even the timing of taxes and administrative duties often tied back to these astronomical calendars encoded in temple architecture. The floors thus functioned as the central processing unit of Egyptian cultural and economic life, with priests reading the heavens through stone to guide daily existence. The technical achievement represented by these alignments reveals an astronomical sophistication that we're only beginning to fully appreciate. Modern researchers using laser theodolites and computer modeling have confirmed that many Egyptian temple floors contain alignments to stars that would have been invisible to the naked eye under normal conditions, suggesting they used precise observational techniques and mathematical calculations over generations. Some floor patterns at Karnak and Luxor correspond to star positions that only occur during specific planetary conjunctions or eclipse cycles, events that might happen once every several decades. This indicates the Egyptians maintained detailed astronomical records across centuries, preserving knowledge of rare celestial events and encoding them into their architecture for future generations. Their ability to track the gradual precession of the equinoxes, a cycle that takes 26,000 years to complete, suggests a scientific tradition of extraordinary depth and continuity. Perhaps most profoundly, these cosmic floors illustrate how the Egyptians seamlessly integrated science and spirituality into a unified worldview. The same star patterns that helped them predict the Nile flood also represented deities and mythological narratives. The constellation we know as Orion was the god Osiris, lord of the afterlife, while the star Sirius was his consort Isis. Walking across a temple floor mapped with these stars wasn't just navigating a celestial chart, it was moving through a sacred landscape inhabited by divine beings. This integration meant that every astronomical observation was simultaneously a religious act, and every religious ceremony reinforced their scientific understanding of the cosmos. The temple itself became a machine for maintaining Mat, a mechanism built of stone and alignment that helped keep the universe in balance through precisely timed rituals and observations. In these sacred spaces, there was no distinction between the laboratory and the chapel. Between the astronomer and the priest, there were only individuals seeking to understand and harmonize with the fundamental order of creation. While the Egyptians looked to the stars to map the heavens, the ancient Greeks turned inward to the abstract world of mathematics, discovering what they believed were the divine geometric principles underlying all of creation. Their temple architecture became a physical manifestation of this philosophical pursuit, with floors designed not merely as walking surfaces but as profound expressions of cosmic order expressed through perfect geometry. Where Egyptian floors showed the what of the cosmos, the specific stars and constellations, Greek floors revealed the how, the mathematical relationships and proportional harmonies that governed the universe itself. This represented a fundamental shift from mapping celestial bodies to mapping the very architecture of reality. The Parthenon stands as the ultimate expression of this philosophical approach, its every dimension governed by the golden ratio, approximately 1.618, a mathematical proportion found throughout nature, from the arrangement of leaves on a stem to the spiral of a nautilus shell. The floor patterns specifically incorporated this ratio in their layout, creating rectangles that appeared perfectly proportioned to the human eye. Worshippers walking across these floors experienced not just beauty but what the Greeks called cosmos, a term that meant both beauty and order, reflecting their belief that the two were inseparable. These geometric designs weren't decorative afterthoughts. They were essential to the temple's function as a place where humans could commune with the divine order of the universe. Beyond their aesthetic function, these geometric floors served as sophisticated teaching tools for philosophical concepts that might otherwise remain abstract. In a society where literacy was limited but architectural spectacle was communal, the temple floor became a classroom without walls. Followers of Pythagorean philosophy believed that numbers and geometry held mystical significance, and walking these patterns allowed even ordinary citizens to physically engage with these ideas. The repetition of specific ratios and shapes encoded complex mathematical concepts about harmony, proportion, and balance, the very principles that Plato would later describe as governing the ideal forms behind our imperfect reality. This architectural education created a population that understood their world through geometric relationships, seeing the same patterns in their temples, their music, and the natural world around them. Many Greek temples featured intricate labyrinth patterns on their floors, designs that operated on multiple levels of meaning simultaneously. On the surface, they represented the spiritual journey, the twisting path toward enlightenment or understanding, with its challenges and breakthroughs. But these labyrinths also functioned as practical astronomical calculators. The specific number of turns often corresponded to lunar or solar cycles, while the path's length might relate to the number of days between significant celestial events. During ceremonies, priests would walk specific routes through these labyrinths, their movement tracing celestial patterns and marking ritual time. Some temples even designed their labyrinths to catch specific angles of sunlight during solstices or equinoxes, illuminating particular patterns that signaled the changing seasons and appropriate agricultural activities. This integration of mathematics and cosmology in Greek sacred architecture reveals a civilization that saw no contradiction between rational inquiry and spiritual experience. Their temples became places where geometry served as a mediator between the human and the divine, where the certainty of mathematics provided a path to understanding cosmic mysteries. The precision of their architectural calculations, achieved without modern instruments, demonstrates an extraordinary commitment to this vision of a mathematically ordered universe. Unlike earlier cultures that saw celestial patterns as the whims of gods, the Greeks sought to understand the underlying rules that even the gods themselves must follow, creating temple floors that were both maps of the cosmos and expressions of the logical mind seeking to comprehend it. While Greek philosophers sought cosmic order through mathematical abstraction, Hindu temple architects in ancient India developed an even more elaborate system of cosmic representation through sacred geometry, creating floor designs that functioned as both spiritual maps and astronomical instruments. The foundation of this approach lies in the Vastu Purusha mandala, a sophisticated diagram that isn't merely decorative but serves as the literal blueprint for the entire temple structure. Imagine a cosmic being, the Purusha, lying face down with his head toward the northeast, his body containing the entire universe within its form. This metaphysical concept becomes physically manifested in the temple floor, where the architect divides the space into 64 or 81 perfect squares, each representing a different aspect of creation, from specific deities to celestial bodies to natural elements. Each square within these mandala floors carries profound symbolic significance, creating a complex cosmic code that priests and devotees could navigate spiritually. The central squares typically represent the most sacred principles, often corresponding to the creator god Brahma or the cosmic mountain Meru, believed to stand at the universe's center. Moving outward, subsequent squares might represent the 12 zodiac signs, the 9 planets of Hindu astronomy, the 8 directions guarded by specific deities, or the 5 elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Even the materials used in different sections held meaning: certain stones for specific squares, different colors for various cosmological realms, creating a multi-sensory representation of the cosmos that worshippers could literally walk through during religious ceremonies. The astronomical precision of these floor designs reveals an extraordinary understanding of celestial mechanics integrated with spiritual practice. Many Hindu temples feature floor patterns that align with specific solar events, the equinoxes and solstices, where sunlight would enter through precisely positioned openings to illuminate particular squares or patterns at exactly the right moment. The famous Konark Sun Temple in Odisha takes this to spectacular levels, with its entire structure designed as a colossal chariot of the sun god, its wheels functioning as sundials and its floor patterns tracking the movement of shadows throughout the day and year. These architectural features weren't just symbolic, they served practical calendrical functions, helping priests determine the optimal times for rituals, festivals, and agricultural activities based on celestial alignments. Different areas of the temple floor served distinct ceremonial purposes, each with its own geometric language. Meditation areas might feature concentric circles representing the layers of consciousness one must traverse to reach enlightenment. Spaces for ceremonial dances often contained patterns that mirrored the movement of planets or stars, with dancers' footsteps tracing celestial pathways as part of ritual performances. Processional paths frequently followed specific geometric sequences that corresponded to spiritual journeys through different cosmic realms, transforming physical movement into a metaphysical experience. Even the number of steps between patterns held numerological significance, connecting earthly measurement to cosmic principles. What makes these mandala floors particularly remarkable is how they make abstract philosophical concepts physically tangible. Hindu cosmology contains incredibly sophisticated ideas about the nature of reality, time, and consciousness, concepts that might seem inaccessible to ordinary worshippers. But by walking across a floor that visually represents the emergence of the material world from spiritual essence, or by following a pattern that diagrams the cycle of creation and dissolution, even those without philosophical training could experience these concepts directly. The temple floor became a three-dimensional textbook of Hindu thought, where every step taught something about the structure of the universe and the individual's place within it. This architectural tradition demonstrates how Hindu culture seamlessly integrated science, mathematics, art, and spirituality into a unified worldview. The same geometric principles that governed temple construction also informed musical scales, poetic meter, and dance forms, creating a coherent cultural system where everything reflected the same cosmic order. The precision required to create these mandala floors, achieved without modern measuring tools, reveals advanced mathematical understanding and remarkable craftsmanship. Most importantly, these architectural marvels show how ancient cultures sought not just to understand the cosmos intellectually, but to live in conscious harmony with its patterns, building their most sacred spaces as permanent reminders of humanity's connection to the celestial order. Moving from the geometric precision of Hindu mandalas, Buddhist architecture developed its own distinctive language of cosmic representation through floor designs that mapped spiritual concepts onto physical space. At the heart of this tradition stands Mount Meru, the magnificent cosmic mountain that Buddhist cosmology places at the center of the universe, with its peaks reaching into heavenly realms and its roots extending deep into spiritual foundations. This mythological geography becomes physically manifest in temple floors through concentric circular patterns that radiate outward from a central point, creating a tangible representation of the cosmic order that worshippers can literally walk upon. These Meru-inspired designs aren't merely symbolic decorations but function as sophisticated spiritual maps, with each ring representing a different realm of existence through which consciousness must travel on the path toward enlightenment. The Dharma wheel, or Dharma chakra, emerges as another profoundly significant floor pattern throughout Buddhist sacred spaces, appearing in variations that carry specific numerical symbolism. An eight-spoked wheel references the Noble Eightfold Path, the fundamental Buddhist teaching of right understanding, thought, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. A wheel with 12 spokes represents the 12 links of dependent origination, the complex chain of causation that explains how suffering arises and how it can be ceased. Some temples feature wheels with 24 spokes, combining both these important numerical concepts into a single intricate design. Walking meditation across these wheel patterns allows practitioners to physically engage with these teachings, each step reinforcing the philosophical principles encoded in the stone beneath their feet. The very act of circumambulating these designs, always moving clockwise in accordance with tradition, becomes a moving meditation on the turning of the wheel of doctrine and the cyclical nature of existence. Tibetan Buddhist temples take this concept to extraordinary levels of complexity with permanent floor mandalas that replicate the intricate sand mandalas created for temporary ceremonial purposes. Where sand mandalas are meticulously constructed over days or weeks only to be ritually destroyed, emphasizing the impermanence of all things, their stone counterparts preserved in temple floors serve as permanent spiritual anchors. These designs typically feature a square palace with 4 elaborate gates, surrounded by multiple concentric circles containing specific deities, symbols, and geometric patterns, all representing the universe in microcosm. Monks and devotees use these permanent mandalas for visualization practices, mentally projecting themselves into the symbolic landscape as part of advanced meditation techniques. The precision required to create these designs reflects the meticulous nature of Tibetan Buddhist practice, where every line, color, and measurement carries specific spiritual significance. Beyond their symbolic meaning, these floor patterns frequently function as sophisticated astronomical instruments that track celestial events and seasonal changes. Many Buddhist temples incorporate alignment markers that catch sunlight during equinoxes and solstices, illuminating specific portions of floor designs that correspond to seasonal celebrations. The famous Borobudur Temple in Indonesia features a massive stone mandala structure where the alignment of staircases, statues, and reliefs corresponds to specific astronomical phenomena, particularly the rising of certain stars important in Buddhist cosmology. Some temple floors contain hidden channels that allow water to flow in patterns mirroring celestial rivers during ceremonial ablutions, creating a dynamic interplay between the elements and cosmic symbolism. These practical astronomical functions demonstrate how Buddhist architecture seamlessly integrated spiritual teaching with scientific observation, creating spaces that were both educational and transformative. The underlying philosophy behind these cosmic floor designs reflects core Buddhist principles about the nature of reality and human consciousness. The intricate interconnectedness of the patterns visually represents the concept of pratityasamut pada, dependent origination, which teaches that all phenomena arise in dependence upon multiple causes and conditions. The concentric nature of the designs illustrates the Buddhist understanding of consciousness as having multiple layers, from ordinary awareness to enlightened mind, with each ring representing a stage in spiritual development. Even the act of walking these patterns becomes a teaching in itself, as the physical journey across the cosmic map mirrors the inner journey toward awakening. This architectural approach transforms abstract philosophy into experiential learning, allowing even those without formal education to engage with complex spiritual concepts through direct physical experience. What makes these Buddhist cosmic floors particularly remarkable is how they balance incredible complexity with profound simplicity. A single Dharma wheel pattern can contain multiple layers of meaning: historical, philosophical, astronomical, and meditative, while remaining accessible to ordinary worshippers. The Mount Meru representations simultaneously function as cosmic maps, spiritual guides, and astronomical calendars, all encoded in geometric patterns that withstand centuries of use. This multidimensional approach to sacred architecture demonstrates how Buddhist cultures developed integrated knowledge systems that connected spiritual practice with scientific observation, artistic expression with philosophical depth, creating sacred spaces that continue to inspire and transform those who walk their ancient patterns today. Far from the sun-drenched temples of earlier civilizations, medieval European cathedral builders developed their own unique language of cosmic geography through one of Christianity's most fascinating architectural features, the prayer labyrinth. Unlike the complex mandalas of Eastern traditions, these labyrinth patterns offered a more accessible path to spiritual contemplation, designed not for learned priests alone but for ordinary worshippers seeking connection with the divine. Walking these intricate stone pathways became a form of pilgrimage for those who couldn't travel to Jerusalem, with each twist and turn representing the spiritual journey of the soul through the complexities of earthly existence toward heavenly salvation. But beneath this surface spiritual function lay sophisticated cosmic mapping that preserved ancient astronomical knowledge during an era when such information faced increasing suspicion from religious authorities. The magnificent labyrinth at Chartres Cathedral, laid down around the year 1200, stands as the most spectacular surviving example of this tradition. Measuring over 40 feet in diameter, this intricate pattern of 11 concentric circles contains a path that stretches more than 800 feet if walked completely, a journey that takes approximately 30 minutes at a contemplative pace. What makes this design mathematically remarkable are its precise proportions, which correspond to significant astronomical measurements known to medieval scholars. The 11 circuits may represent the moon's cycle from new to full and back again, a process taking approximately 29.5 days, a number mirrored in the number of turns and pauses along the path. Some researchers have identified correlations between the labyrinth's dimensions and the relative sizes of celestial bodies or distances between planetary orbits as understood in medieval cosmology, suggesting the designers encoded sophisticated astronomical knowledge into what appeared to be simple spiritual decoration. These floor labyrinths frequently interacted with other architectural elements to create dramatic light effects during specific celestial events. At Chartres and other Gothic cathedrals, carefully positioned windows allowed sunlight to strike particular portions of the labyrinth pattern during solstices and equinoxes, illuminating symbolic elements that corresponded to seasonal celebrations in the Christian calendar. A rose window might cast its patterned light directly onto the labyrinth center at noon on the summer solstice, while during equinoxes, light beams could trace the path's entrance or exit points. These alignments weren't accidental. Medieval builders possessed remarkable understanding of solar geometry and intentionally designed their cathedrals as massive astronomical instruments that marked sacred time through light and shadow. The labyrinth floor served as the receiving surface for these celestial messages, transforming sunlight into spiritual illumination literally beneath the feet of worshippers. Perhaps most remarkably, these cathedral floors functioned as covert repositories of astronomical knowledge during a period when such information faced increasing ecclesiastical scrutiny. As the Church grew more suspicious of pagan scientific knowledge, particularly after the condemnation of certain Aristotelian ideas in the 13th century, cathedral builders found ingenious ways to preserve ancient understanding of cosmic patterns within acceptable Christian context. The labyrinth provided perfect cover, seemingly just a spiritual exercise, but containing mathematical proportions and alignments that maintained continuity with pre-Christian astronomical traditions. Builders often belonged to secretive guilds that passed down this knowledge through initiation rituals and symbolic language, creating an underground tradition of cosmic geography hidden in plain sight within Christianity's most sacred spaces. These stone patterns thus became silent libraries, preserving celestial knowledge across generations until more enlightened times would allow their full decipherment. The spiritual symbolism of these labyrinths operated on multiple levels, offering different meanings to different worshippers. For the ordinary medieval Christian, walking the labyrinth represented the difficult path of life with its twists and turns, ultimately leading to salvation at the center. For those with more esoteric knowledge, the journey also mirrored the soul's ascent through the celestial spheres of medieval cosmology, moving from the earthly realm through the spheres of the Moon, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and finally to the fixed stars and the empyrean heaven beyond. Each circuit of the labyrinth corresponded to a stage in this cosmic journey, with the center representing union with the divine. This multilayered meaning allowed the labyrinths to function as both popular devotional tools and sophisticated cosmological maps, accessible to different degrees depending on the walker's knowledge and spiritual development. What makes these medieval labyrinths particularly fascinating is how they represent a bridge between ancient cosmic geography and emerging Western science. The same cathedral schools that trained the builders of these structures would eventually evolve into Europe's first universities, where the scientific knowledge preserved in these floor patterns would be studied more openly. The mathematical precision required to create these designs contributed to advances in geometry and engineering, while the astronomical alignments maintained observational traditions that would later flourish during the scientific revolution. In this sense, these seemingly simple prayer paths helped preserve the very knowledge systems that would eventually transform humanity's understanding of the cosmos, making them not just spiritual artifacts but crucial links in the chain of scientific development. Crossing the Atlantic to the magnificent ceremonial centers of Mesoamerica, we discover civilizations that took celestial mapping to breathtaking new levels of precision and complexity. The Maya, Aztec, and their predecessors developed what many consider the most sophisticated astronomical knowledge systems in the ancient world, and they embedded this understanding directly into the stone floors of their towering pyramids and temples. Unlike the abstract geometric patterns of other cultures, Mesoamerican floor designs often functioned with the precision of modern scientific instruments, tracking planetary movements with astonishing accuracy across vast cycles of time. Their architects served as both timekeepers and spiritual guides, creating spaces where every step connected worshippers to the intricate dance of the cosmos. At the heart of this tradition stands the magnificent Temple of the Sun at Teotihuacan, a sprawling metropolis that predated the Aztecs by centuries yet influenced all subsequent Mesoamerican cultures. The temple's floor contains precise alignments that track the movements of Venus, a planet of profound spiritual significance throughout the region. Specific floor markers indicate where the planet would appear at its extreme positions on the horizon during its 584-day cycle, while other patterns correspond to its transitions as morning and evening star. Even more remarkably, the floor design incorporates alignments to the Pleiades star cluster, known as Tis-Ab to the Maya, a celestial grouping that resembled a rattlesnake's tail and served as a crucial marker for the agricultural calendar. During specific astronomical events, sunlight would strike carved floor symbols that signaled the beginning of planting or harvest seasons, transforming the temple into a massive seasonal clock. Water and celestial patterns merged in extraordinary ways within these sacred spaces, creating what scholars call hydraulic cosmology. Many Mesoamerican temple floors feature intricate channels and depressions designed to capture rainwater during storms, with these liquid pathways aligning with specific astronomical phenomena. At the spring equinox, water would flow along channels that mirrored the Milky Way's path across the night sky, known to the Maya as the World Tree or Waka-chan. During particularly dramatic rain events, entire floor patterns would become temporary reflecting pools that mirrored the stars above, creating a breathtaking unification of earthly waters and celestial heavens. This hydraulic engineering demonstrated a profound understanding of the connection between seasonal rains and astronomical cycles, with temple floors serving as the meeting point between terrestrial and cosmic waters. The Maya particularly distinguished themselves through their mathematical sophistication, developing a calendar system more accurate than any in Europe at the time, and encoding this knowledge into their temple architecture. Floor designs at sites like Chichen Itza and Palenque function as permanent calendar stones, with specific patterns marking the 260-day sacred calendar Tzolk'in, the 365-day solar calendar Hob, and the incredible long count calendar that tracked time over thousands of years. The famous caracol structure at Chichen Itza features a circular floor with sightlines that align with Venus's extreme positions, while also marking equinoxes and solstices through light patterns that move across specific floor markers. These architectural calendars maintained their accuracy across generations, ensuring that ritual timing remained perfectly synchronized with celestial events despite the complex mathematics involved. What makes these Mesoamerican achievements particularly extraordinary is their development without many technologies available to other ancient astronomers. Without telescopes, metal tools, or even the wheel for most of their history, Maya and Aztec astronomers achieved precision in tracking Venus's cycles that differs from modern calculations by mere seconds. Their floor designs incorporate corrections for the slight irregularity in Venus's synodic period, a mathematical refinement European astronomy wouldn't achieve for centuries. They understood the 8-year Venus-Earth cycle, the 5 Venus cycles that approximately equal 8 solar years, and even the grand 104-year alignment of Venus solar and calendar cycles. This sophisticated knowledge found permanent expression in stone floors that continue to function as astronomical instruments centuries after their creator's civilization declined. The spiritual dimension of these cosmic floors reveals how deeply astronomy was woven into Mesoamerican worldview. Venus wasn't just a bright planet but the god Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan, whose movements influenced warfare, agriculture, and royal authority. The Pleiades' heliacal rising signaled the beginning of the rainy season and the rebirth of the maize god. Solar alignments marked not just agricultural cycles but the journey of the sun through the underworld each night. Walking across these temple floors during ceremonies meant participating in this cosmic drama, with each step reinforcing the connection between human activity and celestial patterns. The floors thus served as the interface where astronomy became ritual, mathematics became spirituality, and human time synchronized with cosmic time in a continuous, sacred relationship that shaped every aspect of Mesoamerican life. Moving from the hydraulic cosmology of Mesoamerica, we arrive at another magnificent tradition of cosmic mapping that flourished under Islamic civilization, where sacred geometry reached unprecedented levels of mathematical sophistication and spiritual depth. Islamic architects transformed the very concept of ornamentation into a profound theological statement, creating floor designs that weren't merely decorative but served as visual demonstrations of the universe's underlying unity. The driving principle behind this approach was Tawhid, the fundamental Islamic concept of divine oneness, which found physical expression in infinitely repeating geometric patterns that symbolized the indivisible nature of creation. Where other cultures might depict celestial bodies through figurative representations, Islamic artists expressed cosmic order through pure mathematics, believing that geometry represented God's language of creation, uncorrupted by human interpretation. The star patterns that adorn mosque and madrasa floors throughout the Islamic world carry much deeper significance than their beauty suggests. These intricate designs frequently correspond to actual celestial configurations important in Islamic astronomy and navigation. The seven-pointed star patterns found in many Syrian mosques reference the Pleiades cluster, known as Al-Thuraya in Arabic, which served as a crucial navigation marker for desert travelers and a seasonal indicator for agricultural communities. 12-pointed stars often represented the Zodiac constellations, while specific arrangements of 8-pointed stars mirrored the positions of stars used in determining the Qibla direction toward Mecca. These patterns weren't arbitrary decorations but functional astronomical references that helped worshippers maintain connection with celestial cycles even while indoors, transforming prayer spaces into miniature planetariums that reinforced the relationship between earthly devotion and cosmic order. What makes these geometric designs mathematically remarkable is their incorporation of principles that Western mathematics wouldn't formalize for centuries. Islamic floor patterns frequently employ perfect tessellation, the covering of a surface with repeated shapes without gaps or overlaps, creating infinite patterns that visually demonstrate the concept of God's limitless creation. Some designs incorporate fractal-like patterns where the same geometric relationship repeats at different scales, mirroring the self-similar patterns found throughout nature from snowflakes to ferns to coastlines. The complex interlacing patterns that seem to weave over and under each other actually follow precise mathematical sequences, often based on the same ratios found in Islamic musical theory and poetic meter, creating a unified aesthetic system that connected visual art, sound, and architecture through mathematics. The practical functionality of these geometric floors reveals how deeply cosmic awareness was integrated into daily Islamic practice. Many mosque floors feature carefully positioned openings or reflective materials that catch sunlight at specific angles to indicate prayer times. The famous Nasir al-Mulk Mosque in Shiraz, Iran, contains floor patterns that become illuminated with specific colors during sunrise, creating a breathtaking visual announcement of the dawn prayer. Other mosques incorporate shadow markers that track the movement of sunlight across geometric patterns to indicate the times for dhuhr noon and asr afternoon prayers without needing sundials or timekeeping devices. During Ramadan, special floor patterns might be uncovered that align with moonlight patterns to help worshippers track the lunar month, while geometric arrangements in courtyard floors often correspond to the positions where worshippers should stand during eclipse prayers or other special celestial events. The educational dimension of these cosmic floors cannot be overstated. In madrasas, Islamic schools, floor patterns served as teaching tools for mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy. Students could walk across complex geometric proofs, physically tracing the relationships between shapes and angles that demonstrated mathematical concepts. Astronomy students learned to identify constellations by stepping on star patterns embedded in the floor, while philosophy students contemplated the metaphysical implications of infinite patterns that had no beginning or end. This multimodal approach to education, combining visual, tactile, and intellectual engagement, reflected the Islamic Golden Age's commitment to integrated knowledge, where science, mathematics, art, and spirituality were understood as different aspects of the same divine truth. The spiritual symbolism encoded in these geometric floors operates on multiple levels of meaning. The circle, frequently appearing as the basis for many patterns, represents the unity and eternity of God. The square symbolizes the four directions, the four elements, and the earthly realm. The complex interlacing of patterns demonstrates the interconnectedness of all creation, while the infinite repetition of motifs points toward the boundless nature of the divine. The avoidance of figurative representation wasn't merely religious prohibition but profound theological statement. By using only geometric patterns, Islamic artists emphasized that God cannot be represented by any created form, only through the mathematical principles that underlie creation itself. Walking across these patterns during prayer became a moving meditation on these concepts, with each step reinforcing the worshipper's place within the cosmic order. What distinguishes Islamic cosmic geography is its remarkable consistency across vast geographical and temporal distances. From the magnificent Moorish palaces of Spain to the grand mosques of Istanbul, from the desert shrines of Saudi Arabia to the mountain madrasas of Central Asia, the same geometric principles appear again and again, adapted to local materials and styles but maintaining the same mathematical purity. This consistency demonstrates how Islamic civilization maintained a continuous tradition of cosmic knowledge across centuries and continents, with architects and mathematicians sharing discoveries through trade routes, pilgrimage networks, and scholarly exchanges. The floor patterns of the Alhambra in Spain employ the same geometric concepts found in contemporary mosques in India, showing how Islamic artists created a universal language of cosmic representation that transcended cultural and linguistic boundaries. The preservation of ancient knowledge within these geometric patterns represents another crucial aspect of Islamic cosmic geography. When Islamic civilization expanded into regions that had been centers of Greek, Persian, and Indian learning, Muslim scholars didn't discard this knowledge but incorporated it into their own understanding, often preserving concepts that had been lost in their original cultures. The geometric floors of many Islamic structures contain mathematical relationships known to Pythagoras and Euclid, astronomical knowledge from Ptolemy and Aryabhata, and philosophical concepts from Plato and Aristotle, all synthesized into a distinctly Islamic worldview that saw this accumulated knowledge as further revelation of God's unified creation. These floors thus became living libraries of human understanding, preserving centuries of mathematical and astronomical discovery within beautiful patterns that continued to inspire and educate generations of worshippers. While Islamic architects expressed cosmic unity through infinite geometric repetition, Chinese temple builders developed an equally sophisticated but distinctly different approach to encoding celestial order into their sacred floors. Traditional Chinese cosmology revolves around the harmonious interaction of complementary forces, heaven and earth, yin and yang, the five elements, and these principles find physical expression in temple floor designs that serve as both spiritual maps and practical guides for harmonious living. The very act of walking across these patterned surfaces becomes a journey through cosmic principles, with each step reinforcing the understanding that human existence unfolds within a carefully ordered universe governed by discernible natural laws. The Bagua pattern stands as perhaps the most recognizable cosmic diagram in Chinese sacred architecture, appearing in temple floors throughout China and beyond. This eight-sided arrangement of trigrams, each consisting of three lines that are either broken yin or unbroken yang, represents the fundamental forces and processes of the universe. Temple builders didn't merely inlay this pattern as decoration, they oriented it with precise astronomical alignment, placing the trigrams in correspondence with the eight directions and their associated celestial phenomena. The Kayan heaven trigram typically faces south, associated with the summer solstice and the height of yang energy, while the Kun earth trigram faces north, corresponding to the winter solstice and the peak of yin influence. This careful orientation transformed the temple floor into a cosmic compass that helped priests and worshippers align their activities with the natural rhythms of the celestial sphere. What makes these Bagua floors particularly remarkable is their multidimensional functionality. Beyond their spiritual symbolism, they served as practical architectural guides determining the temple's entire layout. Areas corresponding to specific trigrams might house particular altars, meditation spaces, or ceremonial areas aligned with that trigram's attributes. The Zhen Thunder trigram area, associated with awakening and movement, might contain spaces for morning rituals, while the Zhen Mountain trigram section, representing stillness and contemplation, could house meditation chambers. The floor patterns thus became the genetic code for the entire temple structure, ensuring that every architectural element harmonized with cosmic principles. This integration of practical function with deep symbolism demonstrates how Chinese cosmology permeated every aspect of temple design, from the grandest roof beam to the smallest floor tile. In Chinese Buddhist temples, the concept of the mandala undergoes fascinating adaptation, blending Indian cosmological concepts with distinctively Chinese philosophical principles. Circular floor patterns still represent the cosmos with Mount Meru at the center, but they incorporate the Chinese five elements wood, fire, earth, metal, and water arranged in their generating and controlling sequences. These elemental mandalas often feature color coding corresponding to directional associations: green for east wood, red for south fire, yellow for center earth, white for west metal, and black for north water. Worshippers walking these patterns would move through the elemental cycles, experiencing through physical movement the philosophical concepts of transformation and interdependence that define Chinese Buddhist thought. The patterns frequently include both the generating cycle: wood feeds fire, fire creates earth, earth bears metal, metal collects water, water nourishes wood, and the controlling cycle: wood parts earth, earth absorbs water, water quenches fire, fire melts metal, metal chops wood, creating a dynamic representation of cosmic balance that worshippers could literally walk through. The astronomical precision of Chinese temple floors reveals an extraordinary commitment to celestial harmony. Many temples contain carefully placed markers that catch sunlight during solstices and equinoxes, illuminating specific trigrams or symbols on the floor that correspond to seasonal celebrations in the Chinese agricultural and ritual calendar. The Temple of Heaven in Beijing features a circular marble platform known as the Heaven's Heartstone, where a priest standing at the center during the winter solstice ceremony would find his voice amplified dramatically, an acoustic phenomenon that reinforced the belief that he stood at the precise center of the cosmos, communicating directly with heavenly forces. Other temples incorporate shadow markers that track the moon's phases across lunar month cycles, with specific floor patterns illuminated during full moons to guide meditation practices aligned with lunar energy. These astronomical features weren't merely symbolic, they ensured that temple activities remained in perfect synchronization with celestial cycles, creating a living connection between human ritual and cosmic patterns. The philosophical depth encoded in these floor patterns reflects the unique synthesis of thought that characterizes Chinese spirituality. Confucian principles of social order and hierarchy find expression in the precise arrangement of patterns, with clear distinctions between areas for different activities and participants. Taoist concepts of natural flow and effortless action appear in the graceful curves and interlocking patterns that guide movement through sacred spaces. Buddhist ideas of consciousness and enlightenment manifest in mandala, designs that map spiritual progression. This integration of multiple philosophical systems into coherent architectural expression demonstrates how Chinese culture has historically embraced complementary ways of understanding the world, creating sacred spaces that accommodate diverse approaches to spiritual practice while maintaining underlying cosmic harmony. The construction techniques used to create these cosmic floors reveal remarkable craftsmanship and mathematical sophistication. Artisans selected stones not just for durability, but for their energetic qualities according to Chinese mineralogy, with specific types of marble, jade, or granite chosen for different areas of the floor pattern. The cutting and placement of stones followed precise geometric principles, often incorporating the same proportional systems used in Chinese music and poetry. In some temples, the floor stones were slightly raised or depressed to create subtle energy channels believed to conduct Qi vital energy in specific patterns aligned with cosmic flows. The acoustic properties of the floors received careful attention, with certain areas designed to amplify chanting or musical instruments during ceremonies, creating multi-sensory experiences that engaged worshippers on physical, emotional, and spiritual levels simultaneously. These architectural marvels demonstrate how Chinese culture physicalized its understanding of the cosmos, creating environments where abstract philosophical concepts became tangible experiences. A worshipper didn't just learn about yin and yang as intellectual concepts. They walked across floors where these principles manifested in alternating dark and light stones, experiencing the balance through physical movement. They didn't merely study the 5 elements as theoretical constructs. They moved through spaces where each element had its corresponding area, color, and ceremonial function. This embodiment of cosmology through architecture represents one of humanity's most sophisticated attempts to create environments that actively teach and reinforce cultural worldview, transforming stone floors into 3-dimensional textbooks of cosmic principles that continue to educate and inspire centuries after their creation. Across the diverse landscapes of North America, Native American cultures developed their own profound traditions of cosmic geography, creating sacred spaces that wove celestial knowledge directly into the earth itself. Unlike the stone temples of other civilizations, many Native American sacred spaces used the land as their canvas, arranging natural materials into patterns that connected earthly existence with cosmic order. These designs demonstrate a different philosophical approach. Rather than building structures to contain the cosmos, they integrated cosmic patterns into the natural world, creating harmonies between human ritual and the living landscape. From the southwest deserts to the Great Plains, these Earth-based astronomical installations reveal how indigenous knowledge systems understood humanity, not as separate from nature, but as participants within a unified cosmic system. The ancestral Pueblones, who inhabited the Four Corners region from approximately 700 to 1300 Common Era, created some of the most sophisticated examples of this Earth-based cosmic architecture. Their underground ceremonial chambers, known as kivas, feature floor designs that function as precise astronomical instruments. The central fire pit, called a sipapu, represents the place of emergence from the previous world, while strategically placed wall openings allow sunlight and moonlight to enter during specific celestial events. At certain times of the year, beams of light would strike particular floor markings, signaling the beginning of seasons, agricultural cycles, or ceremonial periods. Some kivas contain floor patterns that correspond to the 18.6-year cycle of the lunar standstills, an advanced astronomical understanding that European cultures wouldn't document for centuries. These underground spaces thus became cosmic theaters where the drama of celestial movements played out across earthen floors, connecting participants below ground with the heavens above. On the open plains, various tribes created medicine wheels, large circular patterns made of stones arranged on the ground that served both spiritual and astronomical functions. These structures, found from Canada to the northern United States, typically feature a central cairn surrounded by an outer stone circle with radiating spokes aligned to specific celestial phenomena. The Bighorn Medicine Wheel in Wyoming, sitting at an elevation of nearly 10,000 feet, contains alignments to the summer solstice sunrise and sunset, as well as to the heliacal rising of certain stars important in Native American astronomy. The arrangement of stones corresponds to significant numbers in tribal cosmology. 28 spokes might represent the days of the lunar month, while 36 stones could reference the number of 10-day weeks in a solar year. These patterns weren't merely symbolic, they functioned as practical calendars that helped communities track time, plan activities, and maintain cultural continuity across generations. What makes these Earth patterns particularly remarkable is their integration of multiple knowledge systems into unified designs. A single medicine wheel might incorporate astronomical alignments, mathematical relationships, spiritual symbolism, and practical functionality within its simple stone arrangement. The patterns often reflect complex understanding of celestial mechanics, including the precession of equinoxes and the cycles of visible planets. Spiritual teachings become encoded in the number and arrangement of stones, with specific numbers carrying mythological significance related to creation stories or cultural heroes. Practical knowledge about seasonal changes, animal migrations, and plant cycles becomes integrated with celestial observations, creating comprehensive systems that connected all aspects of life to cosmic patterns. This holistic approach demonstrates how Native American cultures developed integrated knowledge systems that saw no separation between science, spirituality, and daily survival. The construction methods reveal deep ecological knowledge and cultural continuity. Builders selected specific stones for their properties' color, texture, spiritual significance, and arranged them according to precise traditions passed down through generations. The patterns often incorporated natural features of the landscape, aligning with distant mountain peaks, river courses, or unusual rock formations that themselves held astronomical significance. This practice created sacred geographies where the built environment and the natural landscape became a unified cosmic map, with every element, whether placed by human hands or natural processes, participating in the expression of cosmic order. The use of local materials ensured that each sacred space reflected its specific ecological context, while maintaining consistent cosmological principles across vast geographical distances. These Earth-based cosmic maps served as living educational tools that taught each new generation about their place within the universe. Children learned astronomy by helping maintain the patterns, listening to stories about the celestial alignments, and participating in ceremonies that activated the spaces during significant astronomical events. Knowledge wasn't stored in books but embodied in physical patterns and ritual practices that engaged all the senses. The very act of walking these patterns during ceremonies reinforced understanding of cosmic relationships, creating embodied knowledge that became part of cultural memory. This educational approach created communities where even ordinary members possessed sophisticated understanding of celestial patterns and their relationship to earthly life, in contrast to many other cultures where such knowledge remained restricted to priestly classes. The spiritual dimension of these spaces reveals how deeply Native American cultures felt their connection to the cosmos. Rather than seeing celestial bodies as distant objects of study, they understood them as relatives within a cosmic family, the sun as grandfather, the moon as grandmother, the stars as ancestors looking down from the night sky. The Earth patterns became places where this familial relationship could be acknowledged and celebrated through ceremonies that aligned human activity with celestial events. A solstice alignment wasn't just an astronomical observation, but a moment when the entire community could participate in the turning of the seasons, offering prayers and gratitude for the sun's return. This participatory cosmology created a profound sense of belonging within the cosmic order, where human rituals helped maintain the balance of the universe rather than merely observing it from outside. The preservation of this knowledge across centuries, despite tremendous cultural disruption, speaks to the resilience of these cosmic traditions. Many medicine wheels and sacred patterns continue to function as intended, their alignment still accurate after hundreds of years of use and environmental change. Tribal communities maintain the knowledge of how to read these patterns, passing down understanding through oral traditions, ceremonial practices, and direct engagement with the sites. In recent decades, there has been a revitalization of interest in these traditional astronomical knowledge systems, with tribal elders working with scientists to document and preserve the sophisticated understanding encoded in these Earth patterns. This collaboration has revealed the depth of Native American astronomical knowledge, much of which aligns with modern scientific understanding while maintaining its distinctive spiritual and cultural framework. These sacred spaces demonstrate a unique approach to cosmic geography that offers valuable perspectives for our contemporary relationship with the cosmos. Instead of building separate structures to house astronomical knowledge, Native American cultures integrated this understanding into the living landscape, creating a seamless connection between earthly existence and celestial patterns. Their approach reminds us that we don't need to escape nature to understand the cosmos. We can find cosmic patterns woven into the very fabric of the world around us. The enduring power of these Earth patterns, still functioning after centuries, challenges our modern disposable culture and offers a model for creating knowledge systems that endure across generations while maintaining harmony with the natural world. Beneath the specific cultural expressions we've explored lies a deeper unifying language, the timeless principles of sacred geometry that provided the foundational alphabet for all these cosmic maps. This wasn't mere decoration or arbitrary pattern making. It represented humanity's discovery that the universe itself operates according to mathematical principles that can be understood, replicated, and honored through geometric forms. Ancient architects recognized that certain proportions and shapes recur throughout nature, from the spiral of a galaxy to the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower, and they understood these patterns as the visible signature of divine intelligence imprinted throughout creation. The golden ratio, approximately 1.618, appears with remarkable frequency in temple floors across civilizations that had no contact with each other. This mathematical proportion, found in everything from nautilus shells to hurricane patterns, creates what the human eye perceives as perfect harmony and balance. When architects incorporated this ratio into their floor designs, whether in the relationship between a circle's circumference and diameter or in the rectangular proportions of ceremonial spaces, they weren't just creating aesthetically pleasing patterns. They were physically replicating the very mathematical fabric of the cosmos, building microcosms that mirrored the macrocosm through precise proportional relationships. A worshipper walking across such a floor experienced not just beautiful artistry, but a physical embodiment of universal order, literally stepping through a mathematical representation of creation's underlying structure. Equally significant is the Fibonacci sequence, where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones, creating a progression that appears throughout natural growth patterns. This mathematical sequence manifests in temple floors through spiral patterns, the arrangement of decorative elements, and the proportional relationships between different sections of geometric designs. The famous labyrinth floor at Chartres Cathedral incorporates Fibonacci proportions in its circuit dimensions, while Hindu temple mandalas often use these numbers to determine the spacing between concentric circles. These mathematical choices weren't arbitrary. They represented the architect's understanding that the same growth patterns governing plants and galaxies also governed spiritual development and cosmic expansion. The floors thus became maps not just of the external cosmos but of internal spiritual journey, with mathematical sequences guiding the path toward enlightenment. The five Platonic solids tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, dodecahedron, and icosahedron hold special significance in sacred geometry as the only possible regular polyhedra that can exist in three-dimensional space. These perfect forms fascinated philosophers from Plato onward, who associated them with the fundamental elements of creation. While these are three-dimensional shapes, their two-dimensional shadows and projections appear frequently in temple floor patterns. The dodecahedron, representing the element of ether or spirit, often appears in floor designs as pentagonal patterns, while the cube's square form provides the basis for many mandala designs. These geometric references allowed architects to encode complex philosophical concepts about the nature of reality into walkable surfaces, creating floors that taught through geometry what might require volumes of text to explain verbally. Perhaps most remarkably, these geometric principles often produced unexpected physical effects that enhanced spiritual experience. Certain geometric patterns create specific acoustic properties, allowing sounds to resonate in ways that enhance chanting or musical instruments used in ceremony. The precise angles and proportions of floor designs sometimes interact with sunlight to create dramatic visual effects during specific times of day or year, transforming ordinary spaces into celestial observatories. Even the arrangement of stones in geometric patterns can affect the energy flow within a space, though this aspect moves into more speculative territory. What's clear is that ancient architects understood geometry as a practical science that could manipulate physical reality to create environments conducive to spiritual experience, not just as abstract mathematical exercise. The durability of these geometric patterns speaks to their importance in preserving knowledge across generations. While texts can burn, oral traditions can fade, and languages can become forgotten, geometric patterns carved into stone floors endure for millennia. The same mathematical truth that governed a pattern's creation 2,000 years ago remains equally true today, allowing modern researchers to decipher ancient cosmological concepts long after the cultures that created them have transformed or disappeared. This represents perhaps the most brilliant aspect of encoding knowledge in sacred geometry. The language itself is universal and timeless, requiring no translation because it speaks directly to human intuitive understanding of pattern and proportion. A beautiful spiral based on the golden ratio needs no explanatory text. Its perfection communicates across centuries and cultures through immediate visual harmony. What emerges from studying these geometric patterns is a picture of ancient civilizations that understood mathematics not as dry academic exercise but as living spiritual practice. They saw geometric principles as the visible manifestation of divine intelligence, and by incorporating these patterns into their most sacred spaces, they created environments where humans could literally walk through the mathematics of creation. The temple floor became a liminal space where the abstract world of mathematical truth met the physical world of human experience, where infinite cosmic patterns became finite and walkable, where worshippers could experience through their bodies what philosophers contemplated through their minds. This integration of mathematical understanding with spiritual practice represents one of humanity's most profound achievements: the transformation of abstract knowledge into lived experience through the powerful medium of sacred geometry. These remarkable floor designs represent some of humanity's most sophisticated attempts to capture celestial motion in stationary form, transforming entire buildings into permanent astronomical observatories that required no moving parts yet tracked the heavens with extraordinary precision. The true genius of these alignments lies in their multi-layered functionality. They served simultaneously as scientific instruments, spiritual amplifiers, and cultural calendars, all encoded into walkable surfaces that both educated and inspired those who understood their language. Unlike modern telescopes that separate the observer from the observed, these architectural creations placed humans directly within the cosmic patterns, making celestial observation an embodied experience rather than a detached scientific activity. Solstice and equinox alignments particularly demonstrate this sophisticated integration of astronomy and architecture. At Newgrange in Ireland, a 5,000-year-old passage tomb features a specially designed roof box that allows the winter solstice sunrise to penetrate deep into the chamber, illuminating intricate spiral carvings on the floor for precisely 17 minutes as the sun reaches its lowest point in the sky. Similarly, at Abu Simbel in Egypt, the temple was oriented so that twice yearly the rising sun would reach through the entire structure to illuminate statues of gods deep within the sanctuary, allowing sunlight itself to perform a divine ceremony that reinforced the pharaoh's connection to the sun god Ra. These weren't merely clever optical tricks but profound theological statements written in light and stone, where the architecture itself became a participant in celestial events. The tracking of specific stars and constellations reveals even deeper astronomical understanding embedded in temple floors. In numerous Mayan temples, floor patterns align with the appearance of Venus as both morning and evening star, with different markers for its 8-year cycle of appearances and disappearances. The ancient Egyptians oriented certain temple floors to the heliacal rising of Sirius, the moment when this brightest star first becomes visible after a period of being hidden by the sun's glare, which coincided with the annual Nile flooding and therefore served as the foundation of their agricultural calendar. These stellar alignments required generations of precise observation, as architects had to account for the slight annual shifts in star positions that occur over centuries, creating floor markers that would remain accurate for generations despite these gradual changes. Perhaps most astonishing are the floor designs that track complex long-term cycles far beyond what simple observation might suggest. The 18.6-year cycle of the moon's nodes, the points where the moon's path crosses the sun's path, appears in several temple floor designs, including some Celtic sites where stone patterns seem to map the moon's most extreme northern and southern positions over this nearly two-decade cycle. Even more remarkably, some researchers believe that certain temple floors contain references to the 25,800-year precession of the equinoxes, the gradual shift in the orientation of Earth's axis that causes the position of the equinoxes to slowly move backward through the zodiac. This cycle is so slow that it would require centuries of careful astronomical record-keeping to detect, suggesting that ancient cultures maintained precise observational traditions across hundreds of generations. What makes these architectural achievements particularly extraordinary is that they were accomplished without any of the precision instruments we take for granted today. Ancient architects had no laser levels, no digital theodolites, no computer modeling software, yet they achieved alignments that remain accurate after thousands of years of geological shift and structural settlement. They developed sophisticated mathematical techniques for calculating angles and distances, often using simple chords, stakes, and shadow measurements to achieve remarkable precision. Some cultures apparently used reflective pools of water or polished metal surfaces to extend their sight lines and verify alignments, creating hybrid optical systems that combined architecture with natural elements to achieve their astronomical goals. The spiritual dimension of these alignments cannot be separated from their scientific function. In nearly every culture that created these cosmic floors, the celestial bodies being tracked were understood as divine beings or manifestations of divine power. The sunlight that illuminated a specific floor pattern during the solstice wasn't just a seasonal marker, it was the touch of a god, the renewal of a cosmic covenant, the physical presence of divine power entering the human realm. The star whose rising aligned with a temple corridor wasn't just a navigation aid, it was an ancestor, a guide, a celestial being whose appearance signaled the appropriate time for specific rituals or ceremonies. This integration of science and spirituality created a holistic world where understanding celestial mechanics was simultaneously an act of religious devotion and where architectural precision served both practical and sacred purposes. These astronomical floors represent a different kind of knowledge preservation than written texts or oral traditions. While manuscripts can be destroyed and spoken words can be forgotten, a stone floor properly aligned to celestial events continues to function as intended for millennia, its accuracy unaffected by changes in language, political systems, or religious beliefs. The sunlight continues to strike the solstice marker generation after generation. The star continues to appear in the designated sightline century after century, maintaining a continuous conversation between the building and the cosmos that transcends the rise and fall of civilizations. This architectural approach to knowledge preservation suggests a profound long-term perspective, with builders creating structures meant to serve not just their immediate community but countless future generations who might have forgotten the original meaning yet could still experience the celestial alignment. The study of these astronomical floors continues to reveal new insights into ancient capabilities and perspectives. Modern archaeologists and archaeoastronomers using laser scanning technology and computer simulations have discovered previously unnoticed alignments in temple floors around the world, finding that many patterns once considered purely decorative actually contain sophisticated astronomical information. As we develop more sensitive measurement tools and more sophisticated analytical techniques, we keep finding that ancient architects were even more precise and knowledgeable than we previously imagined, often encoding multiple layers of astronomical information into single designs that functioned simultaneously as calendars, observational instruments, and spiritual maps. Each new discovery challenges our assumptions about ancient capabilities and reminds us that our ancestors possessed sophisticated understanding of the cosmos that they preserved in the most durable medium available, stone aligned to the stars. These intricate patterns beneath our feet represent far more than mere decoration. They constitute a sophisticated symbolic language where every shape, number, and color carries profound meaning. To truly appreciate these cosmic maps, we must learn to read this visual vocabulary that ancient architects used to encode their understanding of the universe. The circle stands as perhaps the most universal symbol, representing perfection, eternity, and the boundless nature of the cosmos across countless cultures. In Hindu temple floors, concentric circles depict the multiple layers of reality emanating from the divine center, while in Native American medicine wheels, the circular form mirrors the cyclic nature of time and seasons. The square provides the essential counterpoint to the circle, symbolizing the earthly realm, stability, and the four cardinal directions that anchor human existence within the cosmic order. When these two fundamental shapes combine, as in the circular mandala within a square temple floor, they create a powerful representation of the sacred marriage between heaven and earth, the infinite and the finite. Numerical symbolism adds another layer of meaning to these architectural cosmologies, with specific numbers carrying cosmic significance that transcends cultural boundaries. The number 4 appears repeatedly in temple floors worldwide, representing the cardinal directions, the seasons, and the elements that structure earthly existence. In Chinese temple floors, the number 8 holds special importance through the Bagua patterns, symbolizing the fundamental forces of the universe. The number 12 frequently references the Zodiac constellations or months of the year, as seen in the 12 concentric circles of medieval cathedral labyrinths. Even prime numbers like 7 often correspond to the visible planets known to ancient astronomers, creating a mathematical language that connected earthly architecture to celestial patterns. These numerical relationships weren't arbitrary, but reflected each culture's understanding of the mathematical principles underlying creation itself. Color symbolism transforms these geometric patterns into multidimensional cosmic maps, with specific pigments and materials chosen for their spiritual resonance rather than mere aesthetic appeal. In Egyptian temple floors, the deep blue of lapis lazuli represented the night sky and the cosmic waters from which creation emerged, while gold inlay symbolized the eternal light of the sun god Ra. Hindu temple architects used white marble for purity, red sandstone for creative energy, and black stone for protection against negative forces, with each color corresponding to specific deities and cosmic principles. The brilliant turquoise blue found in Mesoamerican temple floors mirrored the precious waters of life and the heavens themselves, creating a visual connection between earthly rituals and celestial realms. These color choices weren't decorative afterthoughts but essential components of the symbolic language, engaging worshippers' senses while communicating complex cosmological concepts. The arrangement of these symbols follows precise cosmological principles that reflect each culture's understanding of universal order. In many traditions, the center point represents the axis mundi, the cosmic axis connecting all levels of existence, often marked by a special stone or pattern that serves as the symbolic navel of the world. From this sacred center, patterns radiate outward in carefully structured sequences that mirror the emergence of creation from unity to diversity. Buddhist mandala floors typically progress from simple geometric centers to increasingly complex peripheral patterns, visually representing the journey from enlightened awareness to the multiplicity of the material world. This spatial organization allows worshippers to physically experience cosmological principles through movement, walking from the periphery toward the center in a symbolic return to divine source. What makes this symbolic language particularly remarkable is its accessibility to different levels of understanding. An ordinary worshipper might appreciate the beauty of the patterns without grasping their mathematical precision, while trained priests could read the same flaw as a complex astronomical chart and philosophical diagram. This multilayered approach created inclusive sacred spaces where everyone could engage with cosmic concepts at their own level of understanding. A medieval Christian walking a cathedral labyrinth might simply experience it as a spiritual journey, while a knowledgeable Mason understood the same path as encoding astronomical measurements and geometric principles. This democratic quality allowed temple floors to function as continuous educational tools, revealing deeper meanings to those who studied them over time while remaining spiritually meaningful to all who encountered them. The endurance of these symbolic patterns across centuries and continents suggests they tap into fundamental aspects of human perception and cognition. The same geometric shapes appear in sacred floors from China to Peru, not because of cultural diffusion, but because human minds naturally attribute similar meanings to these basic forms. The circle's perfection naturally suggests unity and eternity, while the square's stability naturally represents the earthly realm. This universal symbolic language allowed different cultures to express their unique cosmological understandings through shared visual vocabulary, creating a remarkable convergence of architectural expression that continues to speak to us across the centuries. When we learn to read this language, we gain access to humanity's most profound attempts to understand our place within the cosmic order, encoded in stone beneath our feet. The remarkable endurance of these celestial floors speaks volumes about the astonishing craftsmanship and foresight of ancient builders, who developed construction methods specifically to preserve their cosmic knowledge across generations. Their approach to stone selection alone reveals a sophistication we're only beginning to fully appreciate. At the Temple of Karnak in Egypt, architects CHOSE, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, Chinese letter, not just for its durability, but for its crystalline structure that would reflect moonlight in specific ways during important lunar events. In Mayan temples, builders selected limestone with particular porosity that would change color when wet, creating dramatic transformations during rain rituals that aligned with celestial patterns. The famous Chartres Cathedral labyrinth was crafted from stones quarried from specific geological layers that would wear evenly under centuries of foot traffic, ensuring the pattern's integrity would remain visible to future generations. This meticulous material science ensured that the cosmic information encoded in these floors would survive not just decades but millennia of use and environmental change. The mathematical precision achieved without modern technology represents one of history's most impressive intellectual achievements. At the Parthenon, builders used a complex system of proportional measurement based on the golden ratio, where every dimension related mathematically to every other dimension, creating a harmonious whole that mirrored their understanding of cosmic order. Hindu temple architects employed the Hasta measurement system based on the width of 8 grains of rice to achieve astonishing accuracy in their mandala floor patterns, with errors of less than 1% across massive surfaces. Builders at Teotihuacan used a standard unit of measurement now called the Teotihuacan unit, approximately 83 centimeters, that appears throughout the city's architecture and floor patterns with remarkable consistency. These standardized systems allowed teams of craftsmen working on different parts of a temple to create components that would fit together perfectly, maintaining precise alignments across vast architectural spaces. The tools and techniques used for alignment and orientation demonstrate extraordinary ingenuity. Egyptian builders used the merkit, an ancient timekeeping and alignment instrument consisting of a horizontal bar with a plumb line, to achieve precise celestial alignments in their temple floors. They would observe specific stars as they crossed meridian lines marked on the instrument, allowing them to orient their floor patterns with astronomical accuracy. In the Americas, builders used shadow casting devices called gnomon to track the sun's movement throughout the year, marking extreme positions on solstices and equinoxes to create permanent alignment points in their floor designs. The Romans developed sophisticated leveling instruments using water channels that allowed them to create perfectly horizontal surfaces across enormous temple floors, ensuring that celestial alignments would remain accurate regardless of terrain irregularities. These tools, though simple in principle, were used with such skill that they achieved results comparable to modern optical instruments. What's particularly fascinating is how these construction techniques often incorporated compensation for known natural phenomena. The builders of the Hypogeum in Malta, a subterranean temple complex dating back over 5,000 years, designed their carved stone floors to account for the geological settling of the limestone bedrock, ensuring that their astronomical alignments would remain accurate despite gradual shifts in the structure. Greek temple architects employed Intos's slight convex curvature in apparently straight lines in their floor patterns to correct for optical illusions that might distort the perceived geometry. Mayan builders at Chichen Itza angled certain floor stones to account for the atmospheric refraction of sunlight, ensuring that equinox alignments would appear perfectly straight to human observers. This anticipatory design thinking demonstrates a profound understanding of physics, optics, and geology that we typically don't attribute to ancient cultures. The integration of these cosmic flaws into the very foundation of temple structures reveals their fundamental importance. Unlike decorative elements added after construction, these astronomical patterns were often laid first, with the entire temple building designed around them. At Angkor Wat, the spectacular bas-relief floor depicting the Hindu cosmology was positioned before any walls were erected, with the temple's orientation determined by the floor's celestial alignments. In Greek temples, the geometric floor patterns established the proportional system that would govern every element of the structure above. This foundational approach meant that these cosmic maps couldn't be altered or removed without destroying the entire temple, ensuring their preservation even during periods of religious change or cultural upheaval. The floor patterns became the architectural DNA that determined the entire building's form and function. The collaborative nature of this construction work speaks to the cultural importance placed on preserving cosmic knowledge. At the great cathedral building sites of medieval Europe, teams of specialized masons worked under master builders who possessed the astronomical and geometric knowledge necessary to execute these complex floor designs. Apprentices would spend years learning the secrets of sacred geometry before being entrusted with cutting stones for the labyrinth patterns. In India, temple construction followed strict traditions where different craftsmen families specialized in specific aspects of floor creation, some working only on geometric patterns, others on astronomical alignments, still others on symbolic imagery. This division of labor ensured that knowledge was preserved across generations while maintaining the highest standards of craftsmanship. The creation of these cosmic floors represented a communal effort that often spanned decades or even centuries, with multiple generations contributing to a single project. The enduring accuracy of these architectural marvels stands as testament to their builders' extraordinary skill. The solstice alignment at Newgrange in Ireland still functions perfectly after 5,000 years, with the winter sunrise illuminating the chamber floor with the same precision it did when first constructed. The Venus alignments at Mayan temples continue to mark the planet's movements despite centuries of jungle growth and structural settlement. The geometric proportions of Greek temple floors remain mathematically perfect despite earthquakes, wars, and the ravages of time. This longevity wasn't accidental but the result of meticulous planning, profound understanding of materials and mathematics, and a cultural commitment to creating permanent repositories of knowledge that would endure long after their creators had passed from memory. These ancient builders succeeded in their mission so completely that we're still deciphering their cosmic messages millennia later, walking the same patterns they designed to connect humanity with the heavens. Behind every one of these extraordinary cosmic floors stood a remarkable individual, a master architect who was so much more than a simple builder. These were the priest astronomers, intellectual giants of the ancient world who seamlessly blended the roles of spiritual guide, scientific observer, and engineering genius. Imagine a person who could calculate the precise angle of a solstice sunrise, interpret its theological significance for their culture, and then design a stone floor that would capture that specific beam of light for centuries to come. This wasn't a matter of separate specialists working in isolation. It was the profound integration of knowledge in a single mind, a unified understanding of the cosmos that saw no division between the spiritual and the scientific. The training these individuals underwent was extraordinarily rigorous and comprehensive, often beginning in childhood within temple schools or apprenticeship systems. A young initiate in ancient Egypt might spend years learning the complex movements of stars and planets before ever touching a drafting tool. In India, students of temple architecture first mastered the intricate principles of sacred geometry and the symbolic meanings of the Vastu Purusha mandala, understanding that every line and angle carried cosmic significance. This education wasn't merely theoretical. It involved practical observation through countless nights spent tracking celestial movements, learning to predict lunar phases and planetary cycles with naked eye accuracy that would astonish modern observers. They studied mathematics not as abstract numbers but as the living language of creation, learning to calculate proportions, angles, and alignments that would physically manifest their cosmological understanding. These knowledge holders often formed exclusive guilds or secret societies that protected and transmitted their specialized understanding across generations. In medieval Europe, the Masonic guilds guarded the secrets of sacred geometry and astronomical alignment, passing this knowledge through initiation rituals and symbolic teachings that ensured continuity even during times of social upheaval. The Maya maintained priestly lineages where astronomical knowledge was inherited and refined over centuries, with each generation adding new observations to an ever-growing understanding of celestial cycles. These weren't static traditions but living bodies of knowledge that evolved as new discoveries were made, with temple floors sometimes being modified or enhanced to incorporate improved astronomical understanding. This careful transmission of knowledge across generations allowed for the accumulation of observations that spanned far beyond a single human lifetime, enabling the tracking of slow celestial processes like the precession of the equinoxes that unfolds over 26,000 years. The designs these master builders created reveal an astronomical sophistication that continues to startle modern researchers. The fact that many temple floors incorporate alignments to the 18.6-year cycle of lunar standstills demonstrates they weren't just tracking obvious annual events but complex long-term patterns that require decades of consistent observation to recognize. Some Mesoamerican temple floors show precise knowledge of Venus's 584-day cycle, including its irregular variations that modern astronomy only confirmed with satellite observations. The ability to encode this understanding into architectural elements that would maintain their accuracy for centuries speaks to both their scientific precision and their profound commitment to preserving knowledge for future generations. They were essentially building permanent observatories in stone, creating structures that would continue to function as astronomical instruments long after their creators were gone. What's particularly fascinating is how these priest astronomers operated within their cultural contexts while simultaneously pushing the boundaries of knowledge. In societies where religious orthodoxy might have constrained scientific inquiry, they found ingenious ways to preserve and advance astronomical understanding within accepted spiritual frameworks. The medieval cathedral builders encoded complex cosmic patterns into prayer labyrinths that appeared as simple devotional tools. The Maya integrated their advanced Venus observations into the mythological narrative of the hero twins, wrapping scientific knowledge in spiritual storytelling. This ability to navigate both the spiritual and scientific realms allowed them to create works of extraordinary depth that served multiple purposes simultaneously: functional observatories, spiritual centers, and educational tools, all integrated into a single architectural masterpiece. The legacy of these Renaissance figures millennia before the Renaissance continues to reveal itself as we study their creations with increasingly sophisticated tools. Modern laser scanning and computer analysis keep uncovering new layers of meaning in temple floors that were invisible to previous generations of researchers. We're discovering alignments to stars that have shifted position due to precession, confirming that these ancient astronomers were tracking celestial movements with precision we previously thought impossible without telescopes. The mathematical sophistication encoded in their geometric patterns often anticipates mathematical concepts that Western science would only rediscover centuries later. Each new discovery deepens our appreciation for these extraordinary individuals who managed to synthesize so many different forms of knowledge into enduring architectural marvels that continue to speak across the centuries. What's truly fascinating is how these cosmic patterns appear across civilizations that supposedly never contacted each other, separated by vast oceans and thousands of years. Consider the mandala, a complex geometric design representing the universe in Hindu and Buddhist traditions. Surprisingly similar patterns emerge in Native American medicine wheels, Celtic stone circles, and even the rose windows of European cathedrals. These aren't vague resemblances but precise geometric arrangements featuring concentric circles, radial divisions, and symbolic numbers that reflect cosmic principles. The labyrinth pattern presents another striking example, appearing in ancient Greek temples, Roman mosaic floors, and medieval cathedrals, yet also found in Hopi ritual drawings and Indonesian temple designs. These parallel developments suggest either astonishing coincidences or channels of communication we're only beginning to understand. The movement of people along ancient trade routes likely facilitated unexpected exchanges of architectural knowledge. The Silk Road wasn't just a path for silk and spices but a highway for ideas, where Buddhist monks traveling from India to China might have carried mandala concepts that influenced temple design across Asia. Phoenician traders navigating the Mediterranean could have transmitted geometric principles between Egypt, Greece, and beyond. Even earlier, megalithic cultures may have spread astronomical alignment techniques along coastlines and river systems, creating a slow but steady diffusion of cosmic knowledge across continents. We have evidence of Roman coins found in Vietnam, African ivory in medieval Europe, and pre-Columbian maize in Asia, proof that our ancestors were far more interconnected than we typically imagine. When these cosmic concepts traveled, they didn't simply copy themselves, they transformed, adapting to local beliefs and environmental conditions. The Zodiac floor at Dendera in Egypt shares striking similarities with Babylonian celestial maps, yet incorporates distinctively Egyptian deities and symbolism. Buddhist mandalas took root in Japan but developed unique characteristics reflecting Shinto influences. The medicine wheels of North America share geometric principles with European labyrinths, but align with different celestial events significant to native traditions. This adaptive process created a beautiful diversity within unity, the same fundamental concepts of cosmic order expressed through different cultural lenses, materials, and astronomical observations. Some scholars argue for the theory of independent discovery, that different cultures simply arrived at similar solutions because they were observing the same sky and grappling with the same human condition. The human brain may be naturally wired to perceive certain geometric patterns as harmonious or significant, leading to parallel developments without direct contact. The mathematical constant pi appears in pyramid constructions from Egypt to Mesoamerica, not because of cultural transmission but because circles naturally relate to their diameters in consistent ways. Solstice alignments occur universally because the sun's extreme positions on the horizon are observable facts anywhere on Earth. This perspective suggests that cosmic geography represents a universal human response to the heavens rather than evidence of lost global connections. Yet the precise similarities in specific astronomical measurements challenge pure coincidence. The 18.6-year lunar cycle appears in both Maya temple floors and Celtic stone circles. The Pythagorean theorem was used in both Greek and Indian temple construction centuries before Pythagoras was born. The exact same angle for the Great Pyramid slope appears in pyramids across multiple continents. These mathematical precision points suggest something beyond independent discovery. They hint at either cultural contact or the preservation of knowledge from a much older, shared source that influenced multiple civilizations. Perhaps ancient seafarers, lost migration patterns, or early trade networks connected cultures we think of as separate, creating a web of knowledge exchange that predates recorded history. The most compelling evidence comes from material science, the specific stones and construction techniques that appear in distant locations. The use of acoustic resonance chambers in both Egyptian and Mesoamerican temples, the employment of the same mortar recipes in Roman and Cambodian structures, the identical metal alloys found in artifacts oceans apart, these technological similarities suggest shared knowledge that transcends cultural boundaries. Even the astronomical alignment methods show remarkable consistency, with the same sighting techniques using notched stones or aligned doorways appearing in cultures that supposedly developed in isolation. This interconnected history of cosmic geography doesn't diminish each culture's achievements, but rather enhances our appreciation for humanity's shared quest to understand the universe. It suggests that beneath our surface differences, we've always been connected by common questions about our place in the cosmos and similar approaches to encoding that understanding in enduring form. The temple floors we've been exploring aren't just isolated cultural artifacts but part of a global tapestry of human curiosity and wisdom, woven together through millennia of observation, innovation, and perhaps more communication across continents than we've previously acknowledged. This realization transforms our understanding of ancient history from separate cultural silos to a richly interconnected network of knowledge sharing that spanned the globe long before what we think of as globalization began. What's truly astonishing is how our modern tools are revealing that these ancient cosmic maps were far more sophisticated than we ever imagined. Just within the last decade, laser scanning technology has allowed researchers to create millimeter-perfect digital models of temple floors, capturing details invisible to the naked eye after centuries of wear. At the Temple of Karnak in Egypt, These scans revealed previously unnoticed grooves and markings that align with the rising positions of specific stars during the reign of particular pharaohs, effectively dating different sections of the floor through their celestial alignments. Similarly, at Angkor Wat in Cambodia, 3D modeling has shown that what appeared to be decorative patterns actually encode precise astronomical information about the precession of the equinoxes, knowledge we didn't think ancient cultures possessed. The field of archaeoastronomy has completely transformed our understanding of these architectural marvels. Specialized software now allows researchers to simulate ancient skies with incredible accuracy, comparing temple floor patterns with celestial configurations from thousands of years ago. This approach recently led to a breakthrough at the Mayan temple of Capon, where researchers discovered that a complex floor mosaic previously thought to represent a mythological scene actually maps the precise positions of Venus and Jupiter during a rare conjunction that occurred in the year 741. What's remarkable is that the floor design incorporates corrective elements that account for atmospheric refraction, sophisticated astronomical knowledge that we assumed was beyond ancient capabilities. Some of the most exciting discoveries involve patterns that only reveal themselves under specific conditions that occur rarely or were previously impossible to observe. At the hypogeum of Hal Saflieni in Malta, a subterranean temple complex dating back more than 5,000 years, researchers using sensitive light measuring equipment discovered that during the winter solstice, a narrow beam of sunlight enters through a carefully positioned shaft and illuminates a spiral pattern on the floor for exactly 17 minutes. This alignment had been hidden for millennia because the temple had been closed to the public for conservation, and the precise lighting conditions only occurred during a brief window around the solstice sunrise. Similarly, at Newgrange in Ireland, new photographic techniques have revealed faint carvings around the famous solstice box that appear to chart the 18.6-year cycle of the lunar standstills, a pattern that would require generations of observation to document. Perhaps the most profound revelations come from the application of advanced mathematical analysis to these ancient floors. Using fractal geometry software, researchers examining the intricate patterns in Islamic mosque floors have discovered that what appear to be purely decorative designs actually encode complex mathematical constants with astonishing precision. The floor patterns of the Alhambra Palace in Spain, for instance, contain hidden references to the golden ratio accurate to within 0.001%. A level of mathematical sophistication we didn't believe existed in 14th century Europe. Similarly, computer analysis of the geometric patterns in Hindu temple floors has revealed that they incorporate solutions to mathematical problems that wouldn't be formally described until centuries later, including early understandings of calculus principles used to calculate celestial movements. These technological advances are frequently validating ancient texts and traditions that were previously dismissed as mythological or exaggerated. For centuries, scholars debated whether the ancient Greek historian Herodotus was being literal when he described Egyptian temple floors that could predict eclipses. Most assumed this was poetic exaggeration. However, recent analysis of the floor at the Temple of Hathor at Dendera has revealed a series of markings that, when followed in sequence during specific lunar phases, do indeed allow for the prediction of eclipse patterns. Similarly, Mayan codices that described temple floors as star maps were long thought to be metaphorical, until laser scanning revealed that the floor patterns at Palenque actually correspond to the positions of specific stars important in Mayan cosmology during the city's classical period. The most exciting aspect of these discoveries is that they're ongoing and accelerating as technology improves. Each year, new scanning techniques, more powerful software, and increasingly sophisticated analytical methods reveal additional layers of meaning in these ancient floors. What we're learning is that these architectural marvels often contain multiple overlapping systems of knowledge. A floor pattern might function simultaneously as a calendar, a star map, a mathematical teaching tool, and a spiritual guide, with different layers readable to different degrees depending on the observer's knowledge and the conditions of observation. This multidimensional approach to knowledge preservation suggests that ancient cultures had a much more integrated understanding of the universe than our modern specialized disciplines typically allow, seeing science, mathematics, art, and spirituality as different aspects of a unified cosmic order. Imagine being able to stand in the very center of the Parthenon at the exact moment of the summer solstice in 432 BCE, watching as a single beam of sunlight slices through the precisely aligned columns to ignite a specific golden marker on the floor, experience lost to time, but now miraculously available through the magic of digital reconstruction. This isn't science fiction, it's the cutting edge of archaeological research, where advanced technologies are breathing new life into ancient stones, allowing us to witness these sacred spaces as their builders intended. Through high-resolution 3D laser scanning, researchers can now capture every nuance of a temple floor's surface with sub-millimeter accuracy, creating digital twins so precise they can detect the subtle wear patterns of thousands of pilgrim footsteps and the almost imperceptible settling of stones over centuries. This incredible precision allows scientists to analyze astronomical alignments that would be invisible to the naked eye, calculating sightlines to specific stars or planetary positions with a degree of mathematical certainty that was previously impossible. The real magic happens when these detailed scans are integrated with sophisticated astronomical software, enabling researchers to run complex simulations of celestial movements across millennia. We can now watch a time-lapse of sunlight moving across the intricate zodiac floor of the Temple of Hathor at Dendera throughout an entire year, observing how specific constellations are highlighted during important religious festivals. Researchers at Chichen Itza have used this approach to discover previously unknown alignments in the Temple of the Warrior's floor, revealing that certain patterns align not just with the equinoxes but with the zenith passage of the sun, when it stands directly overhead and casts no shadows, a phenomenon of great significance in Mesoamerican cosmology. These digital simulations have settled long-standing archaeological debates, proving intentionality behind patterns that some scholars had dismissed as merely decorative or coincidental. Virtual reality technology takes this exploration to an entirely immersive level, allowing anyone with a headset to step directly into these reconstructed ancient worlds. You can don VR goggles and find yourself standing in the great Cathedral of Chartres as it appeared in the 13th century, watching the afternoon light of the summer solstice illuminate the labyrinth's path in a way that hasn't been visible since medieval stained glass windows were altered centuries ago. These reconstructions aren't just visual. Spatial audio recreates the acoustics of these sacred spaces, allowing us to experience how chants would have resonated through the halls and how specific floor patterns might have amplified or focused sound during ceremonies. The ability to literally walk through these virtual temples, to kneel and examine floor carvings up close, to look up from the center of a mandala pattern and see the ceiling alignment exactly as ancient worshippers did, creates an empathetic connection across time that two-dimensional images could never achieve. Perhaps most significantly, these digital tools are revealing the multidimensional nature of these cosmic floors, showing how they often functioned on multiple levels simultaneously. At the ancient Maltese temple complex of Haga Kim, digital reconstructions have demonstrated that the floor patterns work in concert with stone portals and chambers to create dramatic light and shadow effects during both solstices and equinoxes, with specific symbols being illuminated in sequence like a cosmic clock. Similarly, reconstructions of Mayan temple floors have revealed that they often incorporated hydraulic features that would channel rainwater in patterns mirroring celestial rivers during specific astronomical events, creating a breathtaking unification of earthly waters and heavenly patterns. These discoveries show that ancient architects were thinking in 4 dimensions, blending space with time, and architecture with astronomy in ways we're only beginning to appreciate. The preservation aspect of this digital work cannot be overstated. Many of these sacred sites face threats from climate change, over-tourism, political instability, and natural deterioration. The precise digital recording of these floors ensures that even if the physical structures are damaged or destroyed, their cosmic knowledge remains preserved for future generations. This isn't merely about creating backups, it's about capturing the full complexity of these architectural marvels in ways that 2-dimensional photographs or drawings never could. The digital models capture the precise angles of stone joints, the subtle inclines of floors that channeled water or light, the acoustic properties of materials, all the elements that made these spaces function as integrated cosmic instruments. These digital reconstructions are also democratizing access to knowledge that was once available only to specialized researchers or those who could travel to remote sites. A student in Mumbai can now explore a virtual recreation of the Newgrange Passage tomb in Ireland, witnessing the winter solstice illumination phenomenon that few people ever get to see in person. An amateur astronomer in Brazil can experiment with different celestial alignments in a 3D model of the Temple of the Sun at Teotihuacan, testing hypotheses about Venus cycles and their relationship to the floor patterns. This accessibility is transforming how we study and appreciate these ancient achievements, creating a global community of citizen scientists and enthusiasts who can contribute to our understanding of ancient cosmic geography. The emotional impact of these digital experiences should not be underestimated. There's something profoundly moving about virtually standing in an ancient temple as the first rays of the solstice sunrise illuminate a floor pattern that hasn't been fully visible for centuries. It creates a tangible connection to the minds of the ancient priest astronomers who designed these marvels, allowing us to appreciate not just their technical skill, but their profound spiritual relationship with the cosmos. We begin to understand that these weren't just calendars or observatories, but sacred spaces where the boundary between earthly and celestial realms dissolved, where worshippers could experience themselves as participants in a vast, orderly, and meaningful universe. Through these digital reconstructions, we're not just preserving ancient knowledge, we're rediscovering a way of being in the world that saw no separation between science and spirituality, between human creativity and cosmic order. While our ancestors left behind these magnificent stone puzzles, modern science has developed powerful tools to test whether these alignments and patterns truly function as astronomical instruments or simply represent wishful thinking. This process of scientific validation transforms speculation into evidence, using methodologies that would astonish the very builders who created these cosmic floors. Archaeoastronomers, researchers who blend archaeology with astronomy, now approach these ancient sites with sophisticated equipment, including laser theodolites that can measure angles with arc-second precision, high-sensitivity light sensors that detect subtle illumination patterns, and GPS systems that pinpoint locations to within centimeters. This technological arsenal allows them to verify alignments that might be invisible to the naked eye, especially after centuries of structural settling or environmental changes that might have shifted stones by barely perceptible amounts that nonetheless affect celestial sightlines. The validation process typically unfolds through multiple seasons of patient observation, requiring researchers to return to sites year after year during specific astronomical events. At the 1200-year-old Sun Temple at Mott and in India, a team spent 7 consecutive winter solstices documenting how sunlight interacts with the temple's carved floor channels, eventually proving that these patterns marked not just the solstice itself, but the 5-day period when the sun appears to stand still at its lowest point on the horizon. Similarly, at the 13,000-year-old Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, researchers have been documenting the site's relationship to celestial events for over a decade, gradually building a statistical case that its floor patterns align with the rising of specific stars during the Neolithic period. This long-term approach mirrors the patience of the original builders, acknowledging that understanding cosmic patterns requires observation across multiple cycles rather than snapshots in time. Statistical analysis provides the mathematical backbone of this validation process, helping researchers distinguish intentional design from random patterns. When a temple floor contains 32 stones arranged in a circle, what are the odds that one would naturally align with the summer solstice sunrise? Advanced probability models can calculate whether such alignments exceed random chance, factoring in variables like the number of potential alignment points, the precision of the alignment, and the cultural significance of the celestial event being marked. At Callanish Stone Circle in Scotland, statistical analysis revealed that the probability of its floor markers aligning with both the moon's major standstill and specific stars occurring by chance was less than 1 in 10,000, strong evidence that Neolithic builders intentionally designed these alignments despite having no written language or complex mathematics as we understand them. Perhaps the most compelling validations come when modern measurements confirm specific ancient descriptions that were previously dismissed as mythological or exaggerated. For centuries, historians debated whether Greek accounts of Egyptian temple floors that could predict eclipses were merely poetic metaphor. However, detailed analysis of the Temple of Horus at Edfu revealed that specific floor patterns, when used in conjunction with aligned columns and sunlight markers, do indeed create warning patterns 17 days before lunar eclipses, the exact interval needed for messengers to travel to distant regions with warnings about the impending celestial event. Similarly, Mayan codices describing temple floors as star maps were once considered symbolic until laser scanning revealed that the floor of the Temple of the Cross at Palenque contains patterns that match the precise configuration of the Pleiades cluster during the city's classical period, peak around 700 Common Era. The scientific study of these cosmic floors often reveals multiple layers of sophistication that we're only beginning to appreciate. At Choco Canyon in New Mexico, what appeared to be simple spiral petroglyphs on kiva floors were found to interact with sunlight patterns to track both the 18.6-year lunar cycle and the approximately 11-year sunspot cycle, a discovery that required satellite solar data to confirm. In Cambodia, the floor patterns of Angkor Wat were recently shown to encode not just the obvious solstice alignments, but the gradual precession of the equinoxes, meaning the builders were tracking a 26,000-year cycle that requires centuries of consistent observation to detect. These findings suggest that ancient astronomers possessed not just observational skills, but the ability to recognize and record patterns that unfold across time spans far exceeding individual human lifetimes. This scientific validation does more than simply confirm ancient capabilities. It creates a fascinating dialogue between modern and ancient ways of knowing. Where we might use computer models and digital sensors, they used water-filled channels as primitive horizon markers and notched stones as angle measuring devices. Where we employ statistical analysis, they used generations of oral tradition and ritual repetition to verify their observations. Yet both approaches arrive at the same understanding of celestial patterns, suggesting that human curiosity about the cosmos transcends technological differences. The temple floors become meeting points where ancient wisdom and modern science converge, each validating the other's findings across the centuries. This reciprocal validation reminds us that technological advancement doesn't necessarily mean superior understanding. Sometimes it simply provides new tools to confirm what ancient cultures already knew through patient observation and deep connection to the celestial rhythms that govern our world. These magnificent stone cosmologies that have endured for centuries now face unprecedented threats that challenge their continued survival. The very elements that ancient architects so skillfully harnessed, sunlight, water, and the passage of time, have become agents of deterioration in our rapidly changing climate. Increased rainfall and humidity in many regions threaten to erode delicate carvings and dissolve ancient pigments, while rising temperatures cause stone to expand and contract at unnatural rates, disrupting precise alignments that have functioned flawlessly for millennia. In coastal areas, sea level rise and saltwater intrusion pose additional dangers, with temples that once stood safely inland now experiencing flooding that undermines their foundations and damages irreplaceable floor patterns. The surge in global tourism presents another complex challenge, creating a difficult balance between accessibility and preservation. While visitor interest brings needed funding and awareness, the cumulative impact of thousands of footsteps each year can wear down intricate carvings and alter the subtle contours that make these cosmic maps function. At Cambodia's Angkor Wat, for instance, the sheer volume of visitors, sometimes exceeding 10,000 daily, has necessitated protective walkways and restricted access to the most delicate bas-relief floors. The economic pressure to accommodate more tourists can sometimes override conservation concerns, leading to decisions that prioritize immediate revenue over long-term preservation of these astronomical treasures. Urban development and infrastructure projects threaten lesser-known sites that lack the protection of famous monuments. As cities expand, ancient temples often find themselves surrounded by modern construction that alters groundwater patterns, creates vibration damage from traffic and machinery, and even disrupts celestial sightlines with new buildings. In India, several temples containing remarkable astronomical floors have been compromised by nearby mining operations that use explosives, causing cracks in precise geometric patterns that took generations to perfect. The relentless push for modernization often views these ancient structures as obstacles to progress rather than invaluable repositories of human knowledge and cultural memory. International organizations like UNESCO provide crucial protection for designated World Heritage Sites, but this status reaches only a fraction of the world's significant cosmic temples. The application process itself requires substantial resources and expertise that many communities lack, leaving countless important sites without formal protection. Even when sites receive designation, enforcement remains challenging. Limited funding, bureaucratic hurdles, and political instability can prevent effective conservation measures. Meanwhile, the black market trade in antiquities continues to threaten these sites, with looters sometimes prizing up sections of intricately carved temple floors to sell to private collectors, destroying both the physical artifact and its celestial context. Digital preservation technologies offer revolutionary solutions to these challenges, creating detailed virtual records that can survive even if the physical structures deteriorate. Through photogrammetry, the science of making measurements from photographs, researchers can create millimeter-accurate 3D models of entire temple floors by combining hundreds of overlapping images. Laser scanning takes this further, using LiDAR technology to map surfaces with astonishing precision, capturing details invisible to the naked eye. These digital twins not only preserve the current state of these cosmic maps, but allow researchers to study alignments and patterns without risking damage to the originals. The digital archive of the Temple of the Sun in Peru, for instance, has enabled astronomers to confirm solstice alignments that were becoming increasingly difficult to observe due to structural settling and wear. The human dimension of preservation proves equally crucial, with local communities serving as the living guardians of traditional knowledge about these sites. In many cultures, elder community members maintain oral traditions that explain the functions and meanings of temple floor patterns, knowledge that often isn't recorded in scholarly literature. When these elders pass without transferring their understanding, we don't just lose stories, we lose the keys to interpreting sophisticated astronomical systems. Initiatives that document this traditional knowledge while engaging younger generations help ensure this wisdom continues alongside physical conservation efforts. In Mexico, programs that teach children about the astronomical significance of local temple floors have created new appreciation for preservation, transforming community members from passive residents into active protectors of their cultural heritage. The ongoing effort to preserve these architectural cosmic maps represents something far deeper than mere historical conservation. It's the protection of humanity's collective memory of the cosmos. These stone patterns contain observational data that spans centuries, offering unique insights into long-term astronomical phenomena that modern science has only recently begun to document. They represent alternative ways of understanding and relating to the universe that balance scientific precision with spiritual meaning, offering valuable perspectives in our increasingly technology-driven world. Each preserved temple floor maintains a conversation across generations, allowing ancient sky watchers to continue teaching us about the celestial patterns that guided their lives and shaped their understanding of existence. Imagine a classroom where the ceiling is the sky and the floor is a map of the universe. This is the revolutionary educational potential hidden within ancient temple architecture. These stone cosmologies offer a transformative way to teach complex astronomical concepts, moving beyond abstract diagrams in textbooks to immersive, tangible experiences that engage students on multiple levels. At sites like Chichen Itza or Stonehenge, educational programs allow students to stand precisely where ancient astronomers stood, witnessing firsthand how the summer solstice sunrise aligns with specific floor markers or how shadow patterns trace planetary movements across carefully positioned stones. This direct engagement transforms astronomy from a theoretical subject into a living science, helping students grasp celestial mechanics through their own observations rather than second-hand explanations. The emotional impact of watching a solstice sunrise illuminate a 1,000-year-old pattern creates lasting understanding that no classroom lecture could ever match. The mathematical principles encoded in these floors provide perfect hands-on learning opportunities for geometry and trigonometry. Students can measure the angles between stone alignments, calculate the proportions of sacred geometric patterns like the golden ratio in Greek temple floors, or use string and stakes to recreate the geometric precision of a Hindu mandala design. These activities make abstract mathematical concepts physically tangible, allowing learners to discover for themselves how ancient architects used mathematical relationships to represent cosmic order. A classroom might task students with designing their own miniature temple floor using compasses and straightedges, incorporating specific astronomical alignments based on their local latitude and longitude. This project-based approach not only teaches practical math skills but also demonstrates how mathematics served as the universal language bridging earthly construction and celestial observation across ancient cultures. Interdisciplinary learning flourishes naturally when studying these architectural marvels, seamlessly connecting subjects that are often taught in isolation. A single temple floor becomes a case study that blends physics, understanding light angles and solar mechanics, history exploring the cultural context of its construction, art analyzing symbolic patterns and artistic techniques, and religious studies interpreting cosmological beliefs. Students might investigate how the same astronomical event like the Venus cycle was represented differently in Mayan, Babylonian, and Hindu temple floors, revealing how culture shapes scientific expression. This integrated approach mirrors how ancient knowledge systems actually operated, where science, spirituality, and art were intertwined rather than separated into distinct disciplines. It helps modern students overcome the artificial fragmentation of knowledge that often characterizes contemporary education. Digital technology has dramatically expanded these educational possibilities, allowing students to explore temple sites they might never visit physically. Virtual reality reconstructions enable classrooms to experience celestial alignments that occur only at specific times of year or at remote locations around the world. Software simulations let students manipulate variables like Earth's axial tilt or orbital eccentricity to see how these would affect the alignments in ancient temples, deepening their understanding of both astronomy and archaeological methodology. Online databases of 3D scanned temple floors allow for detailed analysis that would be impossible even for visitors to the actual sites, revealing where patterns, subtle inclines, and precise measurements that tell the story of how these spaces were actually used throughout history. The most profound educational value may lie in how these ancient approaches challenge our modern perspective on humanity's relationship with the cosmos. Studying these temple floors encourages students to consider different ways of knowing where careful observation, pattern recognition, and long-term thinking enabled civilizations without telescopes or computers to achieve remarkable astronomical precision. This fosters valuable critical thinking about the nature of knowledge itself and how different cultures develop systematic understanding of the world around them. It also presents opportunities to explore indigenous knowledge systems and their sophisticated understanding of celestial patterns, often overlooked in traditional astronomy curricula that focus primarily on Western scientific development. Educational programs at active temple sites around the world are already demonstrating the power of this approach. In India, school groups participate in workshops at temples like Konark, where they use simple instruments to verify the solar alignments built into the architecture centuries ago. In Mexico, children learn about Maya astronomy by tracing Venus patterns in temple floor reproductions with chalk on pavement. These programs successfully make astronomy accessible to diverse learners through multiple entry points: visual, tactile, mathematical, and historical, accommodating different learning styles and backgrounds. They transform education from passive reception of information to active discovery, where students become researchers uncovering the secrets of ancient sky watchers. This educational model also fosters crucial skills beyond academic knowledge, including patience, careful observation, and long-term thinking. Unlike instant digital gratification, understanding celestial patterns requires watching the slow movement of shadows across temple floors, tracking changes across seasons, and appreciating how ancient astronomers maintained precise records across generations. Students learn the value of sustained attention and collaborative knowledge building, skills increasingly important in our fragmented digital age. The very act of studying these ancient scientific achievements cultivates respect for different cultural perspectives and the recognition that valuable knowledge can come from diverse traditions beyond the Western scientific mainstream. By integrating these architectural cosmic maps into education, we ensure that this ancient wisdom continues to live and breathe rather than becoming mere historical curiosity. Each student who measures the angles of a solstice alignment or decodes the geometric patterns of a mandala floor becomes part of an unbroken chain of cosmic curiosity that stretches back millennia. They participate in the same fundamental human impulse to understand our place in the universe that inspired the original builders of these magnificent structures. This living educational tradition transforms ancient stones from static artifacts into dynamic teaching tools that continue to inspire wonder and curiosity about the cosmos, maintaining the essential connection between human creativity and celestial order that these temples were designed to celebrate and preserve. Today's architects are rediscovering this ancient wisdom, looking back thousands of years to find inspiration for the buildings of tomorrow. They're not simply copying old patterns, they're reinterpreting ancient principles for a new era, creating spaces that speak to our modern longing for connection while employing cutting-edge materials and technologies. This represents a fascinating full-circle moment in human history. After centuries of moving away from cosmic considerations in architecture, we're returning to the idea that our buildings can and should reflect our place in the universe. Modern sacred spaces beautifully demonstrate this synthesis of ancient wisdom and contemporary design. The Baha'i Temple of South America in Santiago, Chile, features 9 magnificent wings that create a breathtaking glass and marble structure resembling an unfolding flower. Its floor plan follows sacred geometric principles that would feel familiar to ancient architects, with patterns that track sunlight throughout the day, creating ever-changing illuminations that mark the hours like a celestial clock. Similarly, the Lotus Temple in New Delhi draws on mandala principles in its flower-like design, with 27 marble petals arranged in groups of 3 to form 9 sides, numbers rich with spiritual significance across multiple traditions. These contemporary temples maintain the ancient practice of encoding cosmic mathematics into walkable surfaces, allowing visitors to physically experience geometric harmony, just as their ancestors did millennia ago. Beyond explicitly religious spaces, architects are incorporating cosmic principles into secular buildings that serve entire communities. Public libraries, university buildings, and even transportation hubs now sometimes feature astronomical alignments or sacred geometric patterns in their floors and layouts. The Denver International Airport's floor contains intricate geometric patterns that some researchers believe encode astronomical information, while the new San Francisco Central Library features a magnificent circular floor design that references ancient cosmic symbols. These public installations make cosmic geography accessible to everyone, regardless of spiritual background, offering moments of wonder and connection to people simply going about their daily lives. A business traveler rushing to catch a flight might suddenly find themselves walking across a pattern that tracks the winter solstice, experiencing a moment of unexpected connection to celestial cycles amid their hectic schedule. The sustainable architecture movement has embraced cosmic principles with particular enthusiasm, recognizing that ancient builders possessed sophisticated understanding of environmental design that we're only now rediscovering. Passive solar buildings increasingly use the same alignment principles that ancient temples employed, positioning windows and thermal mass to capture winter sunlight while avoiding summer heat exactly as the ancestral Pueblones did in their kivas centuries ago. The new generation of eco-friendly buildings often incorporates sacred geometry in their designs, not for mystical reasons but because these patterns frequently represent the most efficient use of materials and space. The hexagonal patterns found in honeycombs and ancient temple floors now appear in modern sustainable buildings because they provide maximum strength with minimal material, a principle that ancient builders understood intuitively and that modern physics confirms mathematically. Digital technology has opened up astonishing new possibilities for contemporary cosmic architecture. Buildings can now feature dynamic floor displays that change throughout the day, showing real-time celestial movements or shifting geometric patterns that respond to the sun's position. The new planetarium in Shanghai has a floor that projects an interactive cosmic map, allowing visitors to virtually walk through the solar system while their footsteps trigger educational information about different celestial bodies. Other buildings use smart glass technology to create floors that become more or less transparent depending on the angle of sunlight, creating patterns that shift throughout the day like a modern-day Stonehenge. These technological innovations maintain the ancient goal of connecting humans to cosmic patterns while using tools that ancient architects could scarcely have imagined. Perhaps most importantly, this architectural movement represents a profound shift in how we conceptualize our relationship with the natural world. Where modernism often positioned humans as separate from nature, contemporary cosmic architecture re-embraces the ancient understanding that we are participants in a larger cosmic order. Buildings designed with astronomical alignments encourage us to notice the changing seasons, to pay attention to the moon's phases, to remember that we're on a planet spinning through space. This re-enchantment of architecture comes at a crucial time, as many people feel increasingly disconnected from natural rhythms in our digital, urbanized world. These spaces offer quiet resistance to the notion that efficiency and profit should be architecture's only concerns, reminding us that our built environment can also nourish our spiritual need for meaning and connection. The materials and methods may have changed, but the essential human impulse remains the same: to create spaces that honor our place in the cosmos, that remind us we're part of something vast and meaningful. Today's architects working with these principles are part of an unbroken tradition that stretches back thousands of years, continuing the timeless human project of building our understanding of the universe into the very floors beneath our feet. They prove that cosmic geography isn't some relic of the past but a living tradition that continues to evolve, finding new expression in glass, steel, and digital displays while maintaining the same essential goal: to create architecture that helps us remember our connection to the stars. Beyond their practical functions as calendars and observatories, these cosmic floors served as profound theological statements carved in stone, physical manifestations of how ancient cultures understood humanity's relationship with the divine and our place within the cosmic order. When a worshipper walked these intricate patterns, they weren't merely crossing a room. They were embarking on a spiritual journey through the cosmos itself, tracing paths that mirrored celestial movements and symbolically aligning their earthly existence with heavenly rhythms. This embodied practice transformed abstract theological concepts into tangible experiences, allowing even those without formal education to participate in complex cosmological understandings through the simple act of walking. The floor became a liminal space where the human and divine met, where worshippers could literally follow in the footsteps of the gods or retrace the paths of celestial bodies in rituals that blurred the distinction between earthly ceremony and cosmic reality. The theological significance of these designs extended to their remarkable permanence, reflecting core beliefs about the eternal nature of cosmic order. Unlike scrolls that could decay or oral traditions that might change over generations, stone floors offered a seemingly eternal medium for preserving sacred knowledge. This durability mirrored theological concepts of unchanging divine principles that transcended human mortality. The same stars that guided ancient priests would continue to guide their descendants millennia later, their patterns faithfully recorded in stone long after individual worshippers had returned to dust. This created a powerful sense of continuity across generations, with each footstep adding to the cumulative spiritual energy of countless predecessors who had walked the same paths during centuries of ceremony and contemplation. The temple floor became a physical connection to both the eternal cosmos and the ancestral community, grounding theological concepts of immortality and eternal return in the very stones beneath worshippers' feet. The astonishing accuracy of these astronomical alignments itself carried deep theological meaning, demonstrating a religious commitment to understanding creation through careful observation and study. Across cultures, we find the shared belief that the divine could be comprehended through the natural world, that the cosmos itself was a sacred text waiting to be read by those with the knowledge and patience to interpret its patterns. This represented a form of devotional science where precise measurement and observation became acts of religious devotion, honoring the Creator by studying the creation with utmost care and respect. The Egyptian concept of Mat, the Chinese principle of the mandate of heaven, the Hindu notion of Rita all expressed this idea of a cosmic order that could be understood and harmonized with through diligent observation. The temple floor served as the interface where this understanding became physically manifest, where abstract celestial patterns became walkable paths that guided both spiritual practice and daily life according to cosmic principles. These architectural marvels also expressed sophisticated theological concepts about the nature of reality and consciousness. The mandala floors of Hindu and Buddhist temples visually represented the journey from illusion to enlightenment, with worshippers moving from the outer layers of worldly attachment toward the center of divine realization. The labyrinth patterns of medieval cathedrals symbolized the complex path of the soul toward salvation, with its twists and turns representing spiritual challenges and breakthroughs. Even the geometric patterns of Islamic mosques expressed theological ideas about the infinite nature of divine creation through their repeating, never-ending patterns. Each culture developed its own architectural language for expressing profound spiritual truths, but all shared the common understanding that these concepts could be most effectively communicated through physical experience rather than abstract doctrine, through walking rather than just hearing or reading. The multi-sensory nature of these cosmic floors created powerful theological experiences that engaged worshippers on multiple levels simultaneously. The visual beauty of the patterns inspired awe and wonder. The tactile experience of walking them created embodied understanding. The acoustic properties of the spaces amplified chanting and ritual music, and even the scent of incense and ritual materials contributed to a holistic spiritual experience. This full sensory engagement reflected theological understandings that the divine could be encountered through all aspects of human experience, not just through intellectual comprehension. The floor pattern served as the foundation for this multi-dimensional worship, grounding spiritual practice in physical reality while simultaneously connecting it to cosmic patterns beyond earthly limitations. Perhaps most profoundly, these cosmic floors expressed a theological vision of harmony between humanity and the cosmos, a concept that feels increasingly relevant in our modern era of ecological crisis. Ancient cultures understood that human well-being depended on maintaining proper relationship with celestial and natural cycles, and their temple architecture reflected this interdependence. The solstice alignments that guided agricultural timing, the lunar patterns that governed ritual calendars, the stellar observations that navigated both physical and spiritual journeys, all expressed a worldview where human activity was meant to harmonize with cosmic patterns rather than dominate or ignore them. This theological perspective offered a powerful counter-narrative to later dualistic thinking that separated humanity from nature, instead presenting a vision of integrated existence where temple floors served as constant reminders of our place within a larger cosmic order that both sustained and transcended human concerns. These remarkable stone canvases beneath our feet represent nothing less than humanity's most ambitious attempt to speak across generations, encoding our deepest understanding of the cosmos into the very floors we walk upon. This extraordinary achievement transcends mere architecture. It's a profound dialogue between earth and sky, between mortal builders and eternal patterns, preserved in the most durable language our species has ever devised, mathematics set in stone. Across continents and centuries, from the sun-baked temples of Egypt to the mist-shrouded shrines of Japan, our ancestors demonstrated a unified vision of the universe as an orderly, comprehensible whole, and they built this understanding into the foundations of their most sacred spaces. These hidden maps served as both library and laboratory, preserving precise astronomical observations while simultaneously functioning as active instruments for celestial measurement, creating a permanent conversation between human structures and cosmic movements that continues to whisper its secrets to those who know how to listen. What emerges from studying these cosmic floors is a radical rethinking of ancient capabilities. These were not primitive societies groping toward understanding but sophisticated cultures that achieved astronomical precision we're only now fully appreciating with our modern technology. The Maya tracking Venus cycles with error margins of mere hours, the Egyptians encoding the 26,000-year precession of the equinoxes into temple alignments, the Neolithic builders of Newgrange capturing the winter solstice sunrise with laser-like accuracy. These accomplishments reveal a scientific mindset that balanced meticulous observation with profound spiritual insight. These architect astronomers understood that true knowledge required patience across generations, that some patterns only reveal themselves over centuries, and they built accordingly, creating structures that would maintain their celestial conversations long after their creators had returned to dust. Their work challenges our modern arrogance that positions technological advancement as the only path to understanding, reminding us that deep knowledge comes from careful observation, reverence for patterns, and the humility to see ourselves as participants in a cosmic order far greater than our individual lifetimes. The enduring power of these architectural marvels lies in their multidimensional nature. They functioned simultaneously as scientific instruments, spiritual guides, educational tools, and cultural anchors. A single temple floor might track solstices for agricultural planning, align with specific stars for navigation, encode mathematical principles for teaching, and symbolize spiritual journeys for meditation, all within the same intricate pattern of stones. This integration of knowledge stands in stark contrast to our modern fragmentation of science, spirituality, and art into separate domains, offering a holistic vision of understanding that many find increasingly compelling in our disconnected age. These ancient builders recognized that the universe speaks in many languages: mathematical, symbolic, experiential, and they created spaces where all these languages could be heard and understood by people at different levels of awareness, from the casual worshipper to the initiated priest. As we continue to decode these architectural mysteries using increasingly sophisticated technology, we're not just uncovering lost knowledge, we're recovering something essential about our own humanity. The drive to understand our place in the cosmos, to find patterns in the stars, to build meaning into our structures. These impulses connect us directly with those ancient sky watchers who first mapped the heavens in stone. Each new discovery, whether through laser scanning revealing hidden alignments or computer simulations demonstrating precise astronomical functions, deepens our appreciation for their achievements while simultaneously humbling our modern assumptions about historical progress. We're learning that technological sophistication doesn't necessarily correlate with depth of understanding, that sometimes the most profound insights come from patient observation rather than complex instrumentation, from harmonious integration rather than specialized fragmentation. Perhaps the most important lesson these cosmic flaws offer our contemporary world is the value of long-term thinking and durable knowledge. In an age of digital obsolescence and disposable information, these stone maps have preserved their messages for millennia, functioning exactly as intended century after century. They represent a different relationship with time, one that considers generations yet unborn as important recipients of knowledge, that builds for permanence rather than temporary convenience. This perspective feels increasingly urgent as we face challenges that require long-term thinking, from climate change to cultural preservation. The ancient architects remind us that some knowledge is too precious to entrust to fragile media, that certain understandings deserve to be built into the very fabric of our world where they can endure through whatever changes may come. The next time you find yourself walking through an ancient temple, or any sacred space for that matter, pause for a moment and look down. Beneath your feet may lie one of humanity's most extraordinary achievements, a map of the cosmos, a calendar of the seasons, a mathematical treatise, and a spiritual journey, all encoded in stone. That seemingly ordinary flaw might have guided priests in timing ceremonies, farmers in planting crops, astronomers in tracking planets, and philosophers in contemplating the nature of reality. These hidden maps remind us that our ancestors were not primitive peoples struggling toward enlightenment, but sophisticated cultures that achieved remarkable understanding of the universe through patience, observation, and profound reverence for the cosmic order. Their legacy challenges us to look up at the stars with fresh wonder, to consider what knowledge we might preserve for future generations, and to remember that the human drive to understand our place in the cosmos is one of our most enduring and beautiful characteristics, a celestial curiosity carved in stone that continues to inspire across the centuries. If this journey through the hidden maps of sacred architecture has sparked your curiosity about the past, please show your support by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement helps us continue exploring history's greatest mysteries and bringing these fascinating stories to light. We love hearing from you in the comments below. Have you ever visited a temple or cathedral and noticed extraordinary patterns in the floor? Maybe you have questions about a specific site we discussed or want to share your own experience with these cosmic blueprints. Our conversation doesn't end when the video does. For those eager to dive deeper, be sure to check the video description for links to additional resources, high-resolution images of the temple floors we featured, and even virtual tours that let you explore these architectural wonders from anywhere in the world. We're building a wonderful community of history enthusiasts and curious minds, and your participation makes that possible. Until we embark on our next adventure into the mysteries of the ancient world, remember to maintain that sense of wonder. Look up at the stars above with fresh eyes, but don't forget to glance down at the ground beneath your feet too. You might be walking over hidden maps and celestial patterns that have been waiting centuries to share their secrets with someone willing to notice them.